awesome, man. I'm enjoying it.
Wow.
And
One of my biggest criticisms of kombucha.
is that it's so expensive?
Yeah.
Well, dude, that's like $2 a bottle, which is usually like half price compared to something like when you buy it one at a time. And then I looked, and I was always drinking one bottle at a time, but one bottle is 2 servings. So I've started like measuring it out for 8 ounces, so I'm getting like the 2 servings.
Oh shit.
Yeah, so I'm essentially paying like $1 a drink. I'm like, you know what? For a good gut, I'm cool with it.
Absolutely. Is it a good brand too?
Well, it usually rotates, but I mean they're all bigger. Like they're all brands that I've seen in like Whole Foods. So I'm assuming that they're decent.
Nice. That's really good to know.
Yeah, I highly
check that
recommend it.
out.
Yeah, man, I started eating healthy, and I don't know. It's like if you can set yourself up to succeed, then you're gonna have better results. Is what I've learned, and I feel so much better. Like I enjoy. It's not that I don't enjoy eating healthy, but I definitely enjoy eating like shitty food more. But I mean but like when I think of like having the science background, I'm like, fuck, dude, I know that I'm gonna enjoy this just because I get a really quick glucose hit.
Right.
But then it's a crash. But then I think about like, it's almost like, I don't know, if I guess you could say it's like buying like a new car, or maybe like invest like a new like high risk car, or just investing in like a Honda Civic or something like that.
Yeah.
Like you may not get like as much of an enjoyment, but you'll have like long term feeling good. Just like not like super happy, but just kind of like you'll feel good, you'll feel energized, you'll just kind of feel a little more upbeat.
Absolutely. That's what I've noticed too, man. With food and sleep, especially. Like
Yeah.
I need a good amount of sleep.
Yeah.
If I get 6 or 7 hours, I could definitely be fine and go through the whole day. But it's just the way you feel. You only notice it after you get a good night's sleep and noon rolls around and you're like, okay, I'm still feeling good here. Still
Yeah.
feeling good. You don't need to drink that extra coffee. That extra hour of sleep is so beneficial for me.
Oh, hold on. Should I like not eat during this?
I think you can. I mean, it's up to you.
If I put
Just
these,
if you-
if I put these on, will I hear us talk?
You might try it out.
Because I just want to make sure that's not going to sound weird. But yeah, that's what I tried doing out in Seattle. Is that I really tried to make sure I was getting like at least 8 hours of sleep. And I felt so good after.
It's
Like it definitely made a noticeable difference.
It absolutely makes a difference, man, for me. But I think people are different. Like
Well-
Henry Rollins was saying, he gets 4 to 5 hours a night or whatever, but that's just his psyche saying 4 to 5 hours comes around and he's like, all right, I got to get up and start doing something because I'm wasting my life here.
Yeah.
But that's like a mental thing. That's not physical, really.
Well, I mean, that's even me too. Like before, when I would only get like maybe like 6 hours a night, I would stay up until 2 doing nothing, just watching TV, and then I would set an alarm to wake up at 8 instead of 10, so I would be getting 6 hours instead of 8. So like my body initially would sleep until 10 because it needed that 8, but I would wake up 2 hours early because I felt like I was just because I felt like I was wasting the day. So I would set that alarm to wake up early, and I don't know, like so like I'm like the same way where I feel like I need to be like doing stuff. It's the same reason I started to work out early in the morning too. So I wake up at 6. I'm usually asleep by like 10 or 11. Wake up at 6, work out, and I'm back by 8. And I have like the whole day ahead of me to do my stuff. Like the other day, I was trying to run errands and I couldn't because I had to like slow down because no place was open until 9. It's like, all right, well, I have an hour of free time.
Yeah. I'd much prefer that though than rushing around in the morning.
Yeah.
I think for me too, it's a mental thing where
Yeah.
you get up in the morning, you work out, you don't have that lingering over your head all day.
Right.
After work, I gotta go work out. Like, fuck, I'm
Right.
gonna be so tired. You
Yeah,
get
I
out of the
know.
way.
And that's the thing is after I would go to work, I'd always be so tired. I'm like, I just wouldn't have a good workout. Like I feel like if I wake up and kind of maybe give myself like 15 minutes to get ready and get all like just kind of get going in the morning, and then maybe put on some good music in the car, and then like I kind of I'm more apt to work out even than after working the full day, even though I've been up. And then if I can do like a halfway decent workout or like a warm up where I just kind of even get the blood flowing even more, I can have a good workout. Like I've been lifting pretty heavy recently in the mornings, and it's just been. I think I'm like I feel better about myself. I'm like, yeah, I'm in the morning. I'm ready to work out. Like let's get a good workout in to start the day. So I'm almost like more apt to work out harder in the morning compared to in the day.
Not to mention you
later
have
in the
more
day.
energy.
Right.
Right when you wake up. that's a big one for me too. You just get better workouts in.
Yeah.
But
that fat burn.
I think I need to transition away from heavy muscle building lifting.
Yeah.
Although that is my goal, like that's what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
But it gets to the point where I'm compromising my flexibility.
Yeah, you don't want to do. Dude, you want to work out for optimal movement.
Optimal move, yeah.
Like, so I feel like if you're gonna, because you can still have good mobility and be bigger.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's one dude that I can show you on Instagram that is like very big, but he can, like, his big thing is he does the splits and can do pretty much anything when he's doing the splits. I mean, I don't know. I feel like you don't have, like, I feel like someone like you and I doesn't have to doesn't need to get huge.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know, like, I want to get stronger, I guess, or
right.
I don't know, just like work out, like get a little bit bigger. I don't know, just have like fitness goals.
Yeah, maybe.
But I don't want to get like the super like unnecessarily big dudes in the gym.
Right.
Like, to me, that serves no like functional purpose besides just to be that big.
That it could be.
And I mean, and you can, like, I feel like I can like get a little bit bigger or stronger and still do like my workouts that I'm doing. I just have to, instead of doing like 3 sets of 10, do 5 sets of 6 for maybe like 1 or 2 like core movements, like for like a push or a pull or something like that. And then I can do my more like mobility core based work, like stabilization stuff after that.
Yeah.
And like I have been seeing benefits doing that, and like this is perfectly, like, this fits my goals as well as like my philosophy on exercising and stuff.
That's nice, man. I need to strike a good balance on that.
Yeah. That's just me. I mean, it really all depends on your goals and everything.
See, me being like somebody who cares about their physical appearance as much as like I try not to let the ego control me. I mean, we've talked about this, but like I feel like the ego does play a big role in it. And in my mind, it's like I don't want to sacrifice a day of like muscle building for like say like a core exercise, like an ab exercise. Like, even though I know
you don't have to, dude. You can do both.
Yeah.
Like, you just have to figure out proper ways to train your body where you can work your core for that core stability, which is so important for having, like, even the core stability is where you're going to build all your strength from. So if you can combine like strength exercises with core work, you're fine. Like, I'll do like a lot of like unilateral counter rotation stuff. So single arm, like opposite rotation. So
like a kettlebell or something? Or?
Yeah, so like something like that, which is like a very dynamic movement. We have to stabilize to your core, but also control your hips as well on that up movement. Or even like the landmine press, where it's the barbell is like in the corner, and I'll put it in there, and then I'll go like a half kneel press with it, so that way you're working your core because you have like that half kneeling base. And then you're doing unilateral counter or contralateral thing. So you're doing like that cross plane stability too. So you're working your core and these other muscles as well.
We should get a lifting together while you're home so you can teach me some of this.
Train harder, not smarter. Or train smarter, not harder, damn it.
I was going to say, like, oh, that's a new one.
Yeah, no, dude, always train smarter. That's me.
There's this old wise black guy I used to work with who always said that. He's just like, Max, you gotta work smarter, not harder.
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
And that was like his thing, and I was just like, all right. Well, his name was Leonard. Leonard.
Yeah, my workouts up at school were like 30 minutes.
Yeah,
so I would
that's it.
Yeah, I would get all my stuff in, and I mean, it's not like there were still workouts at like leg days I would still have difficulty going up or down stairs. Like upper body days while there was a push or a pull, I was still like putting my hair up after it was always difficult to get the arms up there. So I was like challenging myself.
Right.
And I was able to get it done in like 30 minutes. Like, one of my buddies was an intern strength coach up at Marquette, and he said that some of our teams would do half-hour lifts. He's like, that's all you really need if you can do it right.
If you could get it in. And the muscle connection thing, like Robbie's always telling me, you gotta get your muscle connection down, and like putting your mind in the muscle. So I can do I could crank out a bunch of reps of bicep curls or something. Right. But if I'm not really thinking about it, by the last one, I might be incorporating my shoulder muscle in there, maybe like pec or something. But he's like, if you really just focus, you're better off doing like 1 or 2 sets of like really focused muscle control.
Yeah.
rather than doing a bunch. And that's, I think, another thing I need to get away from is like working my muscle to exhaustion every time.
Well, you also don't have to like just do like that's also like I don't know, that's why I like doing like what I'm doing is because I feel like if I can properly challenge myself, I don't have to actually like I'm so engaged in doing it right that I don't like I already like the connection's already established. And so like instead of doing like 10 bicep curls where I'm like super focused on like curling my bicep, I'll maybe do like a bird dog position where I'll have like a counter. So I'll have my opposite arm and shoulder down for stability. I'll have and then I'll, instead of doing the bird dog up, I'll have my leg back and then I'll do a row. So I have to focus on the movement, like, okay, squeeze up through my scap, do the row motion, and have that bicep activation to curl up too. Right. So it's, I don't know, I feel like, again, train smarter, not harder. Like
it's more of like a mindfulness thing too, right?
Yeah.
Staying engaged in the workout.
Right. Well, that's when I took one of my neuro classes, our teacher taught us that like visualization and like visualizing your muscle moving I think it was like for stroke or spinal cord patients or patients with those occurrences. But yeah, like there's evidence to support that it can work, which is
that's cool.
Kind of weird. I mean, and you would figure if like that sort of mindfulness could help regain muscle function in people with those like pathologies, that it could help normal people increase that muscle connection as well. Because a lot of like a lot of strength gains, especially in the beginning phases, are purely like neural activity. You don't actually, so like that's why people see big gains in the first 6 weeks, I think it is. Oh, excuse me. It's not from like actually getting stronger. It's just you increase the neural connectivity from your central nervous system out to the muscle.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that? Something popped up. I don't want to miss what you just said.
So like
so in the beginning stages, the neural,
right. So like when you first, like a lot of times when people first start working out or doing something new, we'll notice like the biggest strength gains in like the first 6 weeks, like stereotypically, like according to like on average from science, it's not because you're actually getting stronger per se. It's that your muscles aren't getting bigger. It's you're increasing that neural connectivity from like your central nervous system, so your brain and your spinal cord to the muscle onto the periphery.
Oh, and then
like after like that, you 6 weeks, and then you see like the sort of musculoskeletal adaptation that contributes to the strength gains.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
that's cool.
That's why like looking back, like starting off, I wasn't super thrilled with like what I went to school for. Like I was interested in it, but I kind of just had those doubts. But like now, like the more it's weird. Like the more I started learning about like spirituality and like the Eastern mythology or all that stuff, I got so much more like curious in like the body and how it works. And like I was always like kind of curious, but I just had like, I don't know, it really increased my like engagement in the material, because I think it's such a cool thing of like how the body works and everything.
Absolutely.
And like the benefits of like, and kind of like using that information to work like smarter to like age properly.
I could tell, man. I could tell that you're more into it because I haven't seen you in a while. You've been out west, but I can honestly tell just by the way you're talking about it that it's like you have a rekindled interest in it. And I think you're right, because like I think you got sucked in. Correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, I'm speculating here, but I think you got sucked into like thinking of a PT, physical therapist. Like this is gonna be a 9-to-5 job. I'm gonna be stuck in a little workout facility, blah blah blah. But then now you seem like, oh, like you gave a book to your patient. You could incorporate so much more than just physical therapy to like getting better. Yeah,
well, I mean, I also just have like a more fine-tuned idea of what I want to do now, and kind of like more tailoring that. Like, and I mean, I don't know, I just have like a general interest in like the science of exercise and all that stuff, because I think, I don't know, I'm kind of lazy, so if I could like biohack myself to like work my body more efficiently and not really have to do, I mean, not do a lot of work, because I do enjoy like exercising and all that stuff, but kind of going back to like that work smarter, not harder. And I think if I can do that, then why not? Like saying going in the sauna for like 15 minutes to stimulate that heat stress and get all those heat shock proteins going, so I can have like that cellular stress and really increase my responsiveness to it. So I think something like that, like why not make, like if it's going to benefit my body, it's like what, 15 minutes in a sauna. I enjoy it. I feel good after anyway.
Right.
So why not? So just something like that. I don't know. Like, especially after listening to like a lot more of the podcasts, and having like that alternate education, I can really more tailor it, and I think I have like a more fine-tuned view of how I can integrate everything.
Yeah.
That's
awesome, man.
Yeah.
That's huge. I feel like people spend their whole lives trying to find out like what they really want to do, and I know I've changed my idea recently, but that's really great, man.
Yeah.
And maybe that had something to do with like the positive lifestyle you had out in Seattle.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe. I mean, or
I think there are other factors in that too. But I don't know. I mean, like, I've always, like, what I want to do hasn't really changed in like the past few years. It's just before I saw like, well, this is what I want to do and it's not a thing. And then like, I was like, okay, well, now what am I going to do? And then I was like, kind of had the view on it. It's like, well, it's still not a thing, but it's getting bigger, and I can maybe do my own like thing about it. Kind of like do like an independent contract or something like that. And now I'm starting. So like the main thing was being like a health coach, but I wanted to be like a really intelligent health coach because I feel like that's the key thing. Like there's so many bad like health coaches and like personal trainers out there that have like a 6-month class in it and like an exercise. But I feel like if you really want to help benefit people, you need at least 4 years to be any sort of personal trainer.
Right.
Because I feel like you need to know how the body works before you can train someone properly. It does, like, you can't learn that in 6 months.
You have to have a good,
right? You need
extensive knowledge of the subject that you're not going to get ever in 6 months.
Exactly. Like
it's like a lifetime.
Right. And I always thought, what's the purpose of taking like chemistry and biology and all these and physics and all these like the gen ed classes? But now I realize like the benefits of it and like why I had to take them. And I don't know. I feel like you just need like that basic education. So that's why I'm like, I want to be like a health coach, but like a very educated one, because I feel like that's how you maximize your worth to the patients, and that's how you can really make like, so they'll want to see you, and you'll also help give them the best return, so you can help them live their best life possible. So I wanted to do that, and now I'm just kind of realizing, and like, so now that I think health coaches are covered by like Humana or some insurance like that, so it's like slowly starting to see the change that it's like it could be a thing.
That's cool, man.
Yeah,
that's excellent. Hearing you talk about this is like actually getting me really pumped, which is always a good thing whenever I see people like passionate about something, and it invokes like passion in me. That's how I can really tell that like somebody's into it. So that's great. We should try to this summer, man. Are you still doing yoga and stuff? Kinda.
I think I'm just doing it at so LA has yoga classes there. So I've just been doing it through LA. I haven't gone yet. I've been slacking.
Would you be down this summer to maybe just once a week going to a yoga place?
Depends on the fundage, but I could be down.
Yeah, I mean, it might be like $15 a week. You can swing that. But if you're down, I mean, I'm trying to remember like when I would go, and it was so beneficial. It's just getting there is the tough part. But then afterwards, like I would go to ones that were actually like low intensity, more stretching classes. But that's what I like. Yeah. Where it's just an hour of like deep stretching, and where you start off holding a pose where you don't think like you'll ever be able to go farther, and then by the end you've exceeded like anything you've ever imagined, and your muscles are like, what the fuck? I didn't know I could stretch that far. Yeah. See, I used to like those, and then one of the teachers up at Marquette was more physically intense. At first I didn't like it because I'm like, when I go to yoga, I don't want to like get a workout in. But the more I did it, the more I started to appreciate it, because I was so much more connected and like fine-tuned with the movement. That, and like also, well, I mean, my hips are bad too, so that I always come out of like the long stretching one sore. Yeah, so would I. I'd be sore as fuck the next day.
Yeah. So I don't know, like, I was weird, like my whole perspective on like that changed. I feel like if you can find like that good mix where it's like where you can do like the strength like exercises that are more like you'll like stretch one limb, but you have to like stabilize through another. I like those where you can find like that combination, because to me I feel like it's like, ooh, I'm getting a good stretch in, but I'm also kind of getting a good work in. Yeah,
you gotta strike a good balance,
right? Like anything in life,
I'd be down to try, man. But we should try, because you're gonna be around this summer, right?
Yeah,
most likely.
Yeah, I take my board exam in July, so I'm gonna be here at least until August, I figured.
Okay, cool. Well, let's try to swing some of that.
Yeah,
it'll be fun.
Yeah, I can do that.
Cool.
First, I have to get out to the gym. I was gonna go yesterday, and I was just I felt like I'm like, should I go? Because then like, I don't know, it's so easy for me to talk myself out of it. because I'm like, well, my legs are kind of sore because I did some leg stuff the other day, and I'm like, well,
it's so easy.
Yeah, and I'm like, well, no, I won't go.
Uh-huh.
And at least I'm like, well, if I'm not going to go, I'm going to do something. So I ran all my errands for the day. Yeah, I'm like, and as I was like running my errands, I'm like, dang, I should have went.
Yeah,
and that's like the worst part is it's so easy to talk yourself out, but it's like whenever like I do talk myself out, it's always like, oh, you know what? Actually, I should have went.
Mm-hmm.
Like that regret is always a little more. I think that's kind of what I always tell myself in the morning whenever I work out. I'll be like laying in bed for like 5 minutes. I'm like, do I really want to go? And I'm trying to talk myself out of it. And see, like deep down, I know. And I'm like, it's gonna feel so much better if I go because I know I'm gonna regret it if I don't.
So you know what I do? It's this funny game I play with myself in the morning. I wake up if I got a morning workout planned, and I'm in bed and I'm thinking about it. Hit the snooze, and then I start stretching in my bed, like while I'm still laying down. I'm going like this. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go as I'm doing my shoulder stretch, and then finally the snooze goes off, and I'm just like, let's go. But it's like it's always so funny. I always try to convince myself to get up and do it, but I'm not really up yet.
Yeah.
So I'm just in my bed stretching.
So you do well now. You know, so you can self-correct.
Yep.
You have that self-awareness.
It's just you got to think of it as not even an option. It's like, all right, this is what's happening.
Do you pre-pack a bag to work out or no?
Oh yeah, I pre-pack everything, man.
Really?
My lunch.
Yeah.
I pick out my clothes the night before.
Oh, you do that too.
I like to have as little decisions as possible in the morning because. It's like
do you hate free will, man?
You want to get up?
Do you not like free will?
I like to just set it up so when I get up in the morning, it's like as stupid as it sounds. I don't want to decide.
Yeah.
All right, do I want to wear jeans or khakis?
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm gonna match this to my shirt. It's a blue shirt, so I shouldn't wear the blue jeans. I'll wear the khakis. It's like I'm just gonna pick it out the night before. It takes 2 minutes, so I could just slip it on. So I could spend that extra 5 minutes in the morning, talking to my family, or rather than like running. I don't like running right out the door.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
If possible.
Yeah, I guess I'll kind of do that too. I wouldn't physically pick it out, but like while I was say showering, because I when I would shower is when I would kind of pick out what I would wear, because every day I had like a general idea. But I mean, I would say like, all right, I think I'm gonna wear this today. So I guess I still took that time to like pre-plan out. I wasn't just going to the closet cold turkey or blind. Not cold turkey.
Cold turkey. No, I like that. That sounds. That makes it sound more intense than it is.
Going there cold turkey, man.
Yeah.
No idea what's gonna be in there.
I went cold turkey this morning, man. It was tough. But no, go ahead.
Have you ever? No, because I think you're gonna continue, and I was gonna switch to something else.
I was just gonna. Yeah, but then we should switch the top. We've been talking about muscles for a long time. What was I gonna say? Oh, so we were texting about this last night. Project 33.
Yeah.
I love the idea of that, of 33 articles of clothing. Although it's pretty extreme.
Yeah.
But the way I've seen it laid out is like you buy meaningful clothing, or you just keep the clothing that's meaningful to you, and that because right now I have like 8 pairs of jeans. I literally have 8 pairs of jeans.
Yeah.
And I like about 3 of them. I cycle through about 3 of them.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking in my head like, oh, I bought all these jeans, might as well keep them.
Then donate the other 5.
I should.
Then do it.
But it's a weird resistance. I feel. I know, man.
Do it.
It's Nike.
Just do it.
Just do it. But it's a weird resistance. I feel.
Dude, just do it. Like
as a human being,
After like going through all my clothes, I would do the same thing. Like when I'm going through my t-shirts, it's like, oh, I forgot I had this.
I kind of like this one.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, I could wear this, and I'm like, no, just do it, and I just throw it out because I'm like, this is stupid. If I haven't worn it yet, and if I literally said I forgot I had it, it must not mean that much to me. Someone else can.
It's liberating too. Right. It feels good.
Yeah, dude, I have like closet space now. Yeah. I told you all my clothes are in 4 dressers or 4 drawers underneath my bed.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's it.
So then you got all that space in your room.
Well,
whatever.
There's disagreements in the layout of the room, but I think it's. But yeah.
Hey, you won't be there for that much longer, you know. So,
dude, I don't know. The more I think about it, I kind of want to. I don't know. Like, I don't know if I don't want to take like a adult job like right out of school because I feel like once I'm in, and I'm just very hesitant on my ability to pull back from the game. And I think I kind of like, I don't know, I want to get some sort of, I want to do like personal training for a little bit and just do it. At least maybe like for like a year or two, just to do it. I mean, why not? And then live at home and make some money and at least just have some like enjoyment and see, because I never really like did that. I did some
you
like.
You were in school for.
Right. Because I was in school and then when I was in school, I wasn't actually, I was doing like rehab stuff and never like the personal training, which I really enjoyed, except for one summer internship I had. So I just want to, I don't know, I just want to try it out. And I don't want to just like go straight into into the adult job, because I think going from adult to like the training would be, I think that'd be a harder jump than going from training up to an adult job.
Yeah.
And because I feel like I could always say, well, yeah, I have the 2 years of experience. I feel like I really try to develop my exercise skills there.
Right.
In forms of like all the benefits that I want to pull out of it. So I think that would be like a good rationale.
I think so too. I think it's a mature decision. And
yeah.
I went through that too, where I wanted to just get the fuck out. Like, wanted to move out right away. Had just enough money to rent an apartment, start paying my bills and stuff.
Yeah,
but then at the same time, it's like I'm still honing my craft.
Right,
and I get to do that in a good way. And now I got my savings up to a amount that I'm happy about.
Right, that's the big thing. Is I've just been like going to school and working for free essentially for the past like 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't have a lot of fundage.
Right.
So I would just want to store up some money, just like a comfortable, safe, like an amount that I'm safe with.
Yeah, and you can still have some fun. It doesn't mean like you have to go to extreme save mode where no, I can't go out and get a bite to eat. Mm-hmm. It's just rather than paying the $1,000 a month on rent or something.
Right, I can just save it. And live at home.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm sure I probably, if I, depending on like the type of job I get, I would try to offer my parents some sort of money, because I think that that's only fair and right. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I would have no problem with that. Like, I think it'd just be just a good way to add like a little money, or like money to my fund, so I have like a solid base to move on. Mm-hmm. I'm also toying with the idea of like opening up my own place, so I think I need some money for that too.
Nice. What kind of place?
I want to like having like the AT and PT, assuming I pass boards.
What is AT, real quick?
Athletic training, and personal or physical therapy, certifications or degrees. That's and then like licensures and all that. I want to like combine that sort of like movement stuff while doing personal training in a gym. So say, like train people, and then if they ever have any like hip, shoulder, knee, ankle pain, stuff like that, I could evaluate it and see if it was something more serious, and then refer them to like either like an orthopedics or an orthopedic surgeon or a physical therapist, or if it's something that was more movement based, treat them like in house. Okay. So doing like that perfect combination of training and rehab.
Both.
Yeah,
it's a cool idea, man.
Right. Well, and like that's always what I wanted to do. But then the other day I was working out, my back was acting up again, and I thought to myself, I'm like, dang, if only there was like an AT or a PT here who could lick my back really quick, just so I can at least know what's wrong, and then they can give me some things to work on, and then I can go and then I can incorporate those into my workout. And I'm like, and I thought about it, and I'm like, hey, wait, that's what I want to do. I'm like, all right, at least if I want it, then I know that at least someone else is going to want to have it.
That's true, man.
Because I feel like that would be such a valuable thing for any sort of gym to have. Like, hey, we have someone that can train you to move properly so you won't hurt when you're 80, and we also have someone that, say if you are like 40 or 50 and your knees do hurt, that can help you move a little bit better while you're still doing all like your, because I mean there's nothing wrong with wanting to train heavy, like we talked about, and get big, but I feel like if you can have someone there to help you again optimally train, like correct movements, so you can still say squat like 250 or 300 pounds, but you're not gonna have hip or knee pain, right? You're gonna move properly, and you're like, you may not squat as much, but you're gonna be squatting properly and properly training your body, stuff like that.
That's a cool idea.
Yeah.
That'd be really cool. So would you have a workout facility as part of your idea? I'll let you chew for a minute. But that would be cool if so, because if there's someone at the gym that could help you out, because I feel like people are so misguided, myself included. But I mean, really, I learned my exercises from friends of mine, and I try to work on form and stuff, but then again, it's like for some reason the analogy of like the Bible comes, like there was the original one and then somebody rewrote it, and then it was translated and somebody rewrote it, and so by the time your friend is teaching you the proper form for the bench press, they may have learned it from their friend who learned it from a website that wasn't totally right, and that website got it from a book that was written in the 80s. And
you figure, say, even if you're getting it like online or watching a video, like you're watching someone else do it, but you're not getting that external feedback of how you're performing it.
Right. You're just watching and trying to emulate.
Right.
It.
So yeah, I think that's kind of going back why I think that like personal trainers should have like a 4-year degree, because I mean, yeah, you can learn like, okay, you can learn how to squat properly in like a 3-hour class, and you can learn like some compensations that happen, but to really learn how it's all connected and why certain things are doing this, because if like you have to learn about like not just the muscles and the tendons, but also like the ligaments that surround the muscle, and then like the joint capsules and how stiffness there can affect movement, and like all these things that you're not going to learn, like you said, in that short certification. You need like you need an pretty extensive base of. Like, I mean, it took me 4 years to learn the human body, and another 2 for how to like fine tune it for people with different like movement pathologies. And I still don't feel like I'm like there's still a lot more I can learn.
Oh hell yeah!
Like that's
you're still learning,
right? And I mean, and then I think about them like we have people that maybe take a year and get a personal training degree, and they do these things, and like you're like that's not enough.
Right?
Like movement is too important to have such like low standards.
I definitely agree, and I think that's a big problem, and you probably would know better than me.
Yeah.
That people just looking up a new exercise and just trying it
and
by
like
themselves and potentially injuring themselves.
Right. And like that's why I want to do what I want to do, because like I want to educate these people so that way they know what to do, and then like they can tell other people, like since they're knowing how to properly do it, and I'm like, and ideally like I should be teaching them what to do and like what to look for in themselves, and then hopefully they can help educate others, and that way like it's like that kind of like that stereotypical like the roots of a tree, how it starts with one and then it all branches down, so that way like this knowledge is out there everywhere so everyone can move properly.
And this way you're getting good information, because
right, exactly, and because there's so much bad information, if you can give good information out there, that it's so important.
It solves that problem of secondhand info that
right,
like a game of telephone.
Exactly, where like the message gets distorted, or even like just bad information originally. Like today I saw people sitting in the sauna as their warm-up, and in my head I'm like, that's like the worst thing you want to do, because like I mean you're literally warming up, but you're doing the exact opposite of what you want to do. You're drawing blood from the muscle to the skin instead of like from the core into the muscle, so it can like have that proper flow of nutrients. Like, and I'm like, this is the last thing you want to do.
Right.
But I don't want to be like that guy that has to be like Mr. Science in the gym to tell people what they're doing wrong. But it's just like, it's not coming out of a place where I want to sound smart. It's like I want to help them be more educated on how to properly care for their body.
Right. And isn't that weird that, you know, you said I don't want to be that guy, and I like how that guy has been established at the gym, because at one time that guy came up to me and was critiquing I was doing what do you call it? Like tricep dips between 2 benches, you know, your feet upper level and you're dipping down, and he comes up and he's like, hey bro, you're gonna want to put your hands like much closer together. So I put them like real close. I was like, I'll try it out. I put them real close together, and it like fucking hurt my elbows.
Oh yeah, no, you want to go a little bit wider, so it's easier on your elbows.
See, I'm like, I didn't know. I'm like, okay. And even though he came up, and I don't really care, because like I'm open. I don't know everything. I don't know how much this guy knows, but I'll try it out. But as I was doing it, I'm like, I don't think so. At least not for me. This just hurt my elbows.
Dude, my buddy said that like the perfect way to do that is called a compliment sandwich. You go compliment, correction, compliment. So that way you draw them in with like something good, then you kind of help them out, or you kind of say what they're doing wrong and how to correct it, and then you like end with a positive. Like you're saying, like, yeah, I see that, like that's great that you're practicing, and it shows that you have like a lot of work, like a good work ethic. But I notice you're doing this when you really could be doing this, and then that way you can really get even, like you can see like all your hard work can have like better results or something like that. I'm like, dude, that's like the perfect thing.
Compliments. Did he come up with that?
I don't know. I should ask him. If
I don't know, man. That's because if so, that's a cool idea. Yeah. Because you go up to him, hey man, triceps looking pretty good. Hey, but if you don't mind, blah blah blah, let me help you do that. By the way, keep going, and then you walk away.
Like even like you saying that now, it's like, oh, dude, like that sounds so much more.
Right. Rather than like, hey, bro, you're gonna want to go closer. You're gonna want to go closer. Trust me. Right,
because that just sounds like, you know what, you're wrong, I'm right.
I'm right. Oppositional viewpoint.
Right.
Yeah.
No, this is more like mutual. Like you're not, because I mean, like if they obviously are doing something for a place of interest for themselves, where they do want to better themselves.
Yeah, right. It's all about the intention.
Exactly.
Of where they're coming from, and a lot of times I'm sure it's not to show you up or to be a dick or anything. And if it is, fuck you. Why are you even here?
Kind of like saying retard, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's all about the intention.
I'm so glad. That's what I was thinking, man. It's all about the intention of the word.
Yeah.
So, let's go into what we were talking about earlier when I was in the bathroom.
Yeah.
You you were gonna bring up some subjects revolving around transgender, and I'm
not
curious.
that, but just so. I was listening to one of
killer transition by the way.
Like a bunch of the podcasts had this guy Jordan Peterson on who was I guess Canada has a law where you have to use like some 50 gender pronouns for whatever people identify with, and he like refuses to do it. So he's been on a lot of things. So I've been hearing like a lot of his viewpoints, and a lot of it I don't agree with. But some of the things like I do kind of like I definitely shifted over with is that like it's getting to the point where like people are like making things up. Like a lot of the gender pronouns are made up, like brand new, created for this. Like they have like Z, XE, like XIS.
But let's talk about that. Why do you think people need to come up with all these unique pronouns?
Because they have no sort of like self-identification. They're trying to like find themselves through external means when they're just themselves. And if you think about it, it's like you can't feel like I saw something that was like I prefer the gender pronouns they and them. And in my head, I'm like, no.
Doesn't that sound more isolating?
Well, no, because they and them is a plural term. You're a singular person. So if you want to use they and them, then you are probably schizophrenic or something like that if you want to be addressed by multiple things. Like, I don't know, like, I feel like, and then like in terms of like gender, like I saw someone for Women's Appreciation, it was like, for like all like the women identifying things out, like people out there, not things. I don't think things. Well, for all the women identifying people out there, like Happy Woman Appreciation Day, and I'm like, I get where you're coming from, but like a woman is biologically determined. Like it's like I could say I want to be a lizard, but
people could argue that too, man.
No.
Gender. Well, there are people. Devil's advocate that will argue that gender is a social construct.
No, well they're wrong. Gender is XY. In terms of like you want to look
gender characteristics.
Right. What do you mean gender characteristics?
So people, I don't particularly believe this, but people will believe that like gender is a social construct. Meaning,
I'll say there's gender roles, like a woman has to act a certain way, a woman.
Yeah, but from their viewpoint, that has been constructed. It's not supposed to be that way.
Right, exactly. But a woman is a woman, and a woman has X, Y chromosomes, and has certain anatomical variances.
You have your reproductive organs are biological,
and like you have different different hormones that you produce. Like you can have a gender assignment surgery, and you can do hormone replacement therapy, but you're not naturally producing that. Like you're not. Like I don't know. Those are just my views. Like biologically, you're not.
I agree with you biologically. I'm just playing like devil's advocate on terms of like getting into socially women are.
But that's not gender. That's a gender role. Yeah. I'll agree that gender roles are socially constructed. I mean, I wear capri pants. I don't really care. I don't buy into the gender roles. But I mean, in terms of like this. The scientific basis of gender is not a social construct. I
just had this image in my head of you at the Women's March holding up a sign saying like, I wear capri pants. I'm with you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't care about like, I don't buy into like the social construct of like a man has to act X, Y, and Z, and a woman, like a woman is more emotional and a man has to be like this big muscular brute force. Like I don't buy into that. I think you should be who you are.
Yeah.
And you don't really worry about like, oh, well, I'm a man, so I have to do this. Just do whatever you want. It's your So I guess going back, like I don't care if people want to have like a gender reassignment or like the transition. You can. That's fine. Like if you want to, go ahead. It's your life.
It makes you happy, kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, It's not for me, but in terms of like, say if you're like a male to woman if you like transition from male to woman, I think you're still a guy. You just have female characteristics. Like biologically speaking, I'm calling a spade on that. I mean, like if he transitions and he wants to use the female restroom, that's fine. I mean, I think you get more weird looks if you use the guy's restroom. So by all means.
Okay, bathrooms, because this is a conversation I've had with my girlfriend's mom many, many times, and I think about this a lot. So you know how people go, oh well, my problem is what bathroom are they going to use? What if a dude dressed up like a girl, like literally a guy dressed up like and identifies as a woman, goes into the women's bathroom and starts assaulting women, which is an extreme example. But where do you fall on like bathroom? I mean, the bathroom issue. Like, what do you think the solution is? Because I think about this a lot, and I really the only thing I come up with is like you gotta make a third bathroom.
What?
You gotta make a third bathroom.
I don't know. I think that like. I mean, there was people doing that before before this, before like the whole transgender thing was an issue. Like, I don't think I think it's one of those extreme issues, like a fear mongering thing. Like, just because, like, if you say like, oh, they can like people that have transitioned can use the opposite bathroom, I don't think that's saying that you're gonna have people come in and assault. I think that's,
well, that's an extreme example. Let's take the assault out of it. So let's say, for sake of argument, me, Max Sagan, throws on a wig and a dress,
right?
And I have like facial hair going on, and I just walk into the women's room, and people go, "What are you doing in here?" I'm like, "I identify as a woman, which is why I'm in here." That's probably gonna make the people in that bathroom feel uncomfortable, and so it's not really fair to them. I think. Yeah. So how do you solve that? Or let's say I went even a step further, and I'm like pre-op transgender, where I'm on my way to transitioning, and I walk into that bathroom. You still might make people feel uncomfortable. So what's the solution for that? Because I think that it can be a big issue. Not that there is a huge population of people that are doing this, but there still is. And if you don't include them in, it's kind of bullshit. There's got to be a solution for it. And I haven't really heard like a clear cut argument as to what should be done.
I don't know. I mean, I think that if like, here's my thing is that like, there's no way to 100% know. So like, I guess like if a woman, like a male or a female to male transition person were to come into the men's room, I think like, depending on, like, I wouldn't know that she was. I mean, she might look like more feminine, but I don't know. There's like guys who have more feminine looking faces anyway. So I mean, I don't think that I would really know. But I guess it kind of goes back to like that whole biological difference where it's like, I don't feel threatened by like a woman. I mean, like,
but you gotta think it from
I know, but exactly. But from the opposite perspective, I know it's a whole other thing because there's been like this whole like, men are like hormonally more aggressive first and foremost. So like there is that biological difference, and I know that there is like that very strong history of male and female violence too. So I understand like me not being uncomfortable is much different than the flip side of a person that is transitioning from male to female using the women's restroom. And I mean, I don't know, like to me it's like if they're not hurting anyone, I mean, like, okay, so like if he goes in, I mean, he's gonna have to use like a stall, so he goes in, does his business, washes his hands and walks out. I mean, like the woman might be uncomfortable, but he's not hurting her. True. You know what I mean, I don't know. That's hard.
That's a best case scenario, right? And when we talk about stuff like this, I want to be devil's advocate.
Yeah, and it's all very idealistic too. Like it's hard. Like you never know how the real world's gonna play out.
Yeah, but I think we should totally be cordial enough, to just have the relationship. Yeah. Let's not make it so weird to the point.
Let's not get caught up in the roles of like, oh my god, he's a man using the women's restroom, but he kind of wants to be a female. Yeah. Like, why don't we just see him as he's a human using the restroom, doing a biological function. He's not bothering me. I'm not going to bother him. Just because he may look a little different doesn't mean I can't treat him with dignity and respect. Like why not? I mean, why not just smile and say, hey, how's it going? Why not establish that community? Yeah, that's something. So the same buddy that told me about the compliment sandwich, also, like, I saw him a few years ago, and he had like this new idea where anytime a car would drive by his house, he'd wave. And I'm like, why? And he's like, I don't know, why not? Why not just be friendly? Right. And I'm like, and I just liked it. So when I was in Seattle, I'd always at least try to say like hi or hello, or at least like smile and nod at people. And just why not build that sense of community with someone? Sure. Like that's how you spread a good vibe, right, exactly. Spread some happiness. Right. Like that's how you really, like, if you want to say like, oh, we want to change the world and we have to get rid of all this hate. Like that's how you do it. You build community with others. Like you don't have to be best friends and like, oh, hi, how are you going? Like have like an in-depth conversation, but just small little gestures. But just to acknowledge someone's existence as a human is such a big thing. Like, see, like that's how you, like I said, build that community and you build those feelings of togetherness and unity.
Henry Rollins said it best, man. And if anybody hasn't listened to Henry Rollins on Joe Rogan, great podcast. But he said it this morning. I was listening, and he said you don't need to change the world. You just need to change your street. Right. And what he meant by that is like, if you really want to see a big change in the world, don't go out and try to do it in the masses. He's like, you change it on your street. Right. So if your big thing is like more eco-friendly recycle, get your street to start recycling. Yeah. And then maybe that's really the best you could do. Because if everybody just got their street that their house was on to start doing something, then you're good.
Yeah. And then you've got to figure, okay, so say it spreads, so say like maybe it covers like your street on like the block before you have like the next street over. And it's okay. So maybe okay. So let's start off smaller. Let's say it starts on your side of the street, and then it spreads to the other side, and then maybe some people on the side on across the other side of the street on like say I don't know on like the other west side of the intersection, say on like the north side, see that oh you're recycling, so then they get their side, and then the other side, and then it just builds from there. It's like that domino effect, but it's like that or like tree root effect where it starts small and then diffuses out. Yeah, I mean that's like it's such a great idea, and it was just I don't know. I think that's also why I enjoyed being out there so much because I feel like I was kind of building that sense of community, but I also felt that sense of community more. Like people were more apt to. I feel like people out there were more apt to like nod or smile back compared to being in other places. Like there was one guy who was wearing a Packers hat, and I mean, I'm like very like he was in the same restaurant I was in, and I'm like a very shy person. Very hard for me to talk to someone, and I was like, you know what, this is stupid. He's just a human. What's the worst that could happen if I like talking about the Packers?
Right.
So I asked him like, oh, are you like from Wisconsin? And he wasn't, but his family was, and he was a Packers fan. So we ended up just talking about the Packers and like why I was out there talking about like the area, just something like that. And I mean, like I never saw him again, but just like that small little human connection is
the positive interaction.
Exactly.
And you never know, like that guy could have been having a shit day.
Yeah.
A guy could have just came from a funeral and he was feeling down, and then you talk to him and he's like, all right, cool. And then maybe you inspired him to later, if you see somebody in a LA hat or something, like, oh, I'm going to talk to this guy.
Yeah.
You know, you never know.
Exactly.
And it's that the fear of like rejection, I think, is where that feeling comes from, and I experience it too sometimes. But then again, you have to think like, what is the worst that could happen here?
Yeah.
If this guy, the worst that happens is this guy is an asshole and doesn't want to talk, and it's like, okay, that's cool.
Yeah. Like like the worst. Like
not gonna ruin my day.
Right. So like, okay, he's a dick. It's like, okay, well, at least I tried. Maybe that small impact could. Maybe next time someone asks him a question about the Packers, he might be a little more responsive, and then maybe gradually at some point he can have like he would have had the same conversation or something like that. Like that fear of rejection is such like a false, like it's made up in our minds of like, oh no, he's gonna like reject me and it's gonna be terrible, and really it's not that bad. Like there's been a few times where like especially when I'm grocery shopping, I'll try to have like not like a conversation, but I'll try to like at least talk with the cashier, just I don't know, have like a little banter. Why not?
Make a little joke or something.
Right, just something like that. I don't know, make buy the time. Why not? And like sometimes they're friendly and sometimes they're not. And if they're not, they're not. And if they are, they are.
Don't let it affect you.
Right, it is what it is. Like either way,
you tried.
Right, exactly. And that's all you can really do is try your best, and try your best and hope for the best. And you never know what's gonna happen next.
It reminds me, so I'm looking at my phone, it reminds me of an awesome quote that I put at the bottom of my email.
Yeah.
Because you've probably heard this before, but it's such a cool quote. It's, one moment can change a day, one day can change a life, and one life can change the world.
Yeah.
So starting at that one moment.
Exactly.
The moment of you talking to that guy can change his day.
Yeah.
A bunch of good days in a row can change that life. And then say that his life can make a bigger impact.
Yeah.
So that's where it all spawns from, man.
Right.
And that's so cool.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that's just such like a missing
Love that
thing.
quote. Yeah.
Of like that sense of community. That's kind of like, and I've started to do it even now. Like I'll forget a lot, but every so often I will remember, and I'll just do like a quick wave really quick. Sometimes they'll see, sometimes they won't. But I guarantee you that every time I wave at someone and they see, they always wave back and smile. It might be a little late and they'll kind of be like shook, but I always see that cheek come up. And whenever I see it, I'm like, yes, I just made their day, and I know that they're more apt to be nicer to someone else, and then it just spreads like wildfire. And they're nicer to people, and then those people are nicer to people, and overall you just have a happier population as a whole.
Existence.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And then it all comes back because I might interact with someone that they interacted with, and they're nicer to me because like that, you just kind of go back because they were nice to them, and so on and so forth.
Positive attitude, man. True. It's huge. Talking about this reminded me of something else I want to talk about. I was thinking about this girl at my work the other day. Was putting on her makeup, in the morning. I was just hanging out talking to her. So I got to put on my makeup. So I was kind of just watching it go down. Not in like a weird way because we're tight, but she's putting it on, and I'm like thinking to myself, makeup is fucking weird. It is so strange. it's so false.
Yeah.
You're covering up who you truly are, literally covering up who you are to make you look like someone else, which society has deemed to be more attractive.
Right.
And
notice how guys don't wear makeup either?
Yeah, ever, dude. And it's like really unfair.
Well, I shouldn't say guys. Some men wear makeup.
Most men.
Men wearing makeup is probably more judged than men not wearing makeup, I guess.
Yeah, well, it's probably just judged, period, because it's unusual.
Right, but yeah, that is it's like, hey, you're not good enough. Put on...
cover up your real face.
Make yourself more attractive, and then we'll talk to you and treat you like a human.
Yeah, what is that, dude?
I don't know.
I feel weird saying this coming from this position, but I almost feel so strongly about women taking a stand against makeup.
Right.
Universally.
Dude, that would be such like a big... People would flip out.
Dude, I'm talking starting with celebrities. Like, no more of that shit. Mm-hmm. So then, first of all, you're leveling the playing field.
Yeah.
So nobody's going to have makeup anymore. So nobody's going to be more, quote-unquote, attractive than the other. So everybody now... So even if you have someone... You're still going to look who you look like. So who's like a really hot celebrity? Like Charlize Theron. She's still going to be...
Some people look very different without makeup, which is also kind of scary.
Yeah. That's true, but okay. So you have like a Charlize Theron, and then you have like a average pretty girl, right?
Yeah.
So they're both gonna stop wearing makeup, but they're gonna drop down about the same.
Oh, so now you're saying that how women actually are is inherently unattractive?
No, I'm saying
that's what.
Maybe they'll move up.
That's what it sounds a lot like you're saying, man.
Fuck you, social justice warrior. No, but I feel so strongly about that, and I told her that, and she's like, what the fuck are you talking about, man? Like, that's never gonna happen.
Yeah.
But I
totally agree. I was in
It's so strange.
I was in Ulta, or like one of those beauty stores by my mom, something, I think. Not me. Never me. But I don't know. I was in like one of the beauty stores buying something. I don't know. But I was like looking around and I'm like, this is insane. There's so much that girls put on their face.
Right.
Like, and I was looking, and I thought the same thing. I'm like, why do you go through all the effort? I mean, like, you're a beautiful person. Just be comfortable in your own skin. And I know that there is like, again, like the whole like social construct of beautifying yourself to appease men. But I mean, I just like, I'm the same way. I wish it was different. Like, just like be comfortable in your own skin.
But let me stop you there. Like, beautifying yourself to please men. Here's the other side. What if somebody is just really into like the art of makeup, and they just enjoy doing it for themselves?
I know that also is like another big area that people are interested in.
And that's cool. And that's why my big thing of boycotting it doesn't really work. Because what if somebody just makes them happy? It's like an art, because I do think it's like an artwork.
Yeah. Oh no, dude, it definitely is. Like makeup, there's makeup artists who are very skilled, and how they can change the appearance of the human is insane.
It's
like that in itself is beautiful too. But I don't know. I feel like makeup is more of like, it's kind of like when it's like a fancy, like it should be like when you dress up and you go somewhere fancy, kind of like having like a night on the town. It's like
it's like putting on a tuxedo almost.
Right, exactly. It's like, oh, you know what? Why don't you do your makeup and we'll have a very nice, beautiful evening out on the town, and it'll be absolutely lovely.
Right.
Compared to just like, hey, let's have you beautify yourself every day and take all this time out of your morning. I don't know. I think that's what it could.
Well, then again,
it's just my views. Like, I don't know. Like, if I don't know. They're my views, I guess you could say.
Then again, I bring up all these topics, and then I'm jumping on both sides of the fence here because I think it's worth talking about. But then again, you say like, put on makeup, we can have a good night on the town. You can almost apply the same principle what we're talking about makeup to clothes. Yeah. So then like why then when you have a nice night on the town, you got to wear the nice symmetrical button up. You gotta have the nice face on. Yeah, but that's the weird part, man. You gotta break some of that down, because who's to say, like, why can't I go to a nice fucking restaurant in my sweatpants, in a nice shirt, if I have a good personality and I'm gonna treat everybody in a respectful way? Or like a homeless guy, why can't he walk into a nice place and just be judged on his personality and characteristics? He's like, ooh, look at that guy.
For the atmosphere.
Because you'll ruin the atmosphere.
Yeah. No, but that is like a very true thing. Cause like I don't know. I agree with you. Like whenever I would go out, like in Milwaukee, I would like I don't want to get dressed up. Like I'll just like I would wear this to go out, just like a dirty Henley tee and some joggers. Cause I'm like I don't care. Like I don't see the purpose of getting dressed up. Like, I'm just gonna be me, and why would I want to be someone I'm not? So I mean, I guess I'm also like the rare occurrence of that, because I know that it's very opposite. But again, there are people that just like getting dressed up too. Because I know every so often, I like I like throwing on a little button down.
Good. Oh yeah, you feel good when you dress up.
But I think but to me, it's one of those things, like, it's a rare occurrence where, like, I feel like if I had to do it too much, I would just kind of be like, I would just get like acclimatized to it, where it's like, all right, whatever, I look good, Like, I think that I appreciate when I do dress up more, because I don't do it as much. But going back to, like, the homeless person thing, it's funny you say that, because I was walking around in Portland, and there was a homeless guy, and I forgot what he said. I think he just said, like, God bless you or something like that. I don't think he asked for money. And I'm like, hey, thanks, man, you too. And you know what he told me? He said, thank you for acknowledging me. And that was that just hit me so deep. I'm like, dang, this, like, people just don't even acknowledge this guy's existence.
Right.
And just, like, thinking how badly that must hurt. To think that you're not even worth acknowledging.
Right.
Like, not even saying one word, like, hey, or thank, or two words, I guess, thank you. Like, I don't know, that just hit me so deep, and I'm like, wow, that's what we've come to.
Yeah, why?
Not even acknowledging the existence of someone.
Of a fellow human being.
Right.
Who's, like, of the same...
the same species.
Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. Of the same species.
Right, and shares, like, 99% of the DNA that we have.
Oh, yeah.
Like, we have much more in common than we have not in common. Like, all, like, the external things are all the differences. It's like they always say, what's inside that counts, but it really is. Like, we're 90, like, inside we're 99% or something like that the same. But yeah, that was just, like, such a profound thing, and
That's
I'm like,
cool.
And it really hit me, because it made me think back too of, like, all the times where people ask for money and I, like, won't acknowledge them, and it's so hard. And it's mostly because I feel bad for saying, sorry man, I don't have money, because I mean, even if I do have, like, $5 or $10, like, I don't have a lot of money in general, and I know that you have to give and get back, and it starts that whole cycle of giving. But it's like, in the real world, it's like me not having $10 means that I could not grab a bite to eat or something like that, because I am on limited funds. But so I think that's also part of the reason. But yeah, it also just, I felt like a terrible person, because I'm like, wow, I've walked past so many homeless people and just not even acknowledged them.
Right. I mean, so then you just learn from that experience, man. And that's really the best you could do.
Right.
Is learn from that experience. Be like, okay, next time I'm going to acknowledge that person. It's better. It's not... Because if you think about it, like, just going up to a stranger and asking them for money is sort of, like, unprecedented.
Yeah.
Like, yes, they're in need and stuff, but, like, it still is a little out of line.
Right.
From their part. And I'm no hate towards the homeless people, but I'm just saying, like, just that little interaction should be...
To ask is a lot, yeah.
Yeah, that little interaction between you two, it should be, like, fulfilling enough. And if sure, he needs some money, and if you're feeling generous or whatever, then you could help him out. But, like, that's a really cool interaction. He just was maybe feeling, like, sad and lonely, and you just gave him that little positive interaction that he needed.
Right. And I don't know, it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
To be like, thank you for acknowledging me.
That is cool, man.
Yeah.
We should like make sandwiches one day and go downtown and give them out or something.
Me too, that'd be down.
That'd be cool.
I mean, you can go to Costco and buy, like, a bunch of stuff for insanely cheap.
I like how, like, I propose something that requires a little bit of work, and you're like, yeah, I'm down, but let's just buy the sandwiches. I'm not trying to make sandwiches.
No, you can make, but I'm saying, like, we can get what we need from Costco for cheap.
Yeah, I'm just giving you shit.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, we should. What if we went to Costco and bought, like, a bunch of kombucha, and we just handed it out to homeless people? Like, you got any change? No, but I have some kombucha.
Here.
Get your gut health in order.
Yeah, man. Your gut flora will thank me. It's okay.
These guys are, like, fucking starving, and you get your gut flora in order. They're like, what?
I'm going to pass on that one, man.
He's like, I don't want kombucha. Actually, something funny happened once. I was Alice and my stepsister. We were going out for her birthday.
Yeah.
At Harry Carey's, downtown.
Yeah.
And we had some leftovers, and it was like fucking steak and the potato chips they have there.
Yeah.
And like a baked potato or something. And we were staying at a hotel. So we were bringing it home. AJ and I were like, yeah, man, we're going to smash on this later.
Yeah.
We're going home. Homeless guy, do you have any change? And we looked at each other. I'm like, we'll just give him our food. Because I like doing that.
Yeah.
I think it's cool. And it'll help him out, but maybe better than money. And just here, have some food. It's steak from Harry Carey's. This week, we're like, hey, man, you want the food? And he goes, what is it? And I was like, it's like steak and potato and some potato chips. And he's like, no thanks. I swear to God. I was like, what? You guys got. He's like, can you spare a few bucks though? I'm like, nah, I got this meal.
Dude, like literally, beggars can't be choosers, man.
I was blown away, man. He asked what it was, and then when I told him, he goes, no thanks.
Dude, even if I wasn't, even if like I wasn't a homeless guy and you said, yo, you want a steak? I mean, I would probably be a little hesitant, but I mean, I'd probably still take it.
Sure.
Dude, when I was for Frankie's birthday in Milwaukee, it was Halloween, and I forgot what some girl was. She was, but she was Tinkerbell. So she was Tinkerbell, but she had like I forgot what the first half of the Tinker was. But she brought Taco Bell with her to the brewery tour. Mm-hmm. She came up and she's like, do you want a taco? And it was the sketchiest thing ever because she just opened up a bag of Taco Bell and said, take one.
Have a taco.
And I was like, yeah, sure. So I thought about it and I'm like, who's going to poison a Taco Bell bag? So I grabbed one and I looked over, my buddy was eating one. I'm like, all right, if he's eating it, I'm eating it, we're good.
Famous last words.
Who's going to poison a Taco Bell bag?
A Taco Bell bag?
Just ended up with E. coli in the bathroom. Dude, so speaking of like the whole being like putting on makeup and putting on like a new face, I got like a news update on my phone saying models with giant Instagram followings are fashion's secret social media weapons. And I was thinking, like, how odd is that these people literally have millions of people following them and looking at their pictures just because they're hot on social media.
I get it. I see why it's weird, but I get it at the same time.
Yeah,
they're physically attractive. Like,
it's just weird though. It's like you're famous just based solely on what your body is. It's so weird to me.
It is weird.
It's an odd concept. And then you have like this whole new level of fame. It's like, well, what are you famous for? It's like, I'm hot. What? It's like, yeah, people like to look at me. Well,
that's why I have all this money. I think when you think of issues like that, in my mind at least, I always try to boil it down to like the what is it, the least common denominator or greatest common denominator? I don't know, whatever the expression is, in the most simplest form. So like I think it boils down to like being symmetrical, and like that's what people, if you could somehow look at it, like I saw something once where the most beautiful people in the world, deemed the most beautiful from every continent, if you go put them side by side, they all have symmetrical faces. Yeah, and that's what humans we are attracted to, right? For some reason. So like, I don't know.
To me, it's just weird that it's like that's what you get paid for,
being hot. Yeah,
especially like it's not even like modeling where you have to like. I know that there's like a certain walk that they have to do and all that stuff, but it's like you're literally taking pictures of yourself with your butt out and you're getting paid for it. I mean, like, kudos to you. You are doing something that I'm not, and you know, kudos to them on making a life from it. Yeah, it's just like an odd concept to me. The human condition is a weird thing, man.
It is. I don't know a whole lot about it, but from my basic understanding is
people are
very we're strange beings.
Yeah, where you can have you don't believe science, and alternative facts are a thing.
Oh, jeez.
Dude, it was so weird. Some guy or one of the someone I was working with, their husband was talking to me, and he was like, "Yeah, I don't know your views on him. I don't know if I told you, but he's like, that Obama did nothing good." And in my head, I'm like, dude, he's out of office. Literally, why are you still complaining? Your guy won. Let's just go with that. He's like, that Obama, he didn't do anything. He wanted to take all our guns. And I'm like, no, he didn't.
Was this guy from the South?
Oh, dude, he was 100% Mormon. Very conservative person. Just he's been out there
trying to take all our guns.
Yeah. Enlisted in the army when he was 16, so he's been in it.
16? How do you do that?
He lied about his age. And I mean, not that that's anything wrong. I thank him for his service. The armed forces people do something that I do not have the courage to do. But that's like setting like up his kind of like the character build. But yeah, he was like, and I mean, he like I'll listen to his points. That's his views. I mean, if it can help enlighten me to the worldview out there, I'm cool with it. And he was like, you know what? I don't get it. When I was when we were growing up, I left my guns leaning right by the door. People walked in and out. Never hurt a fly. Never killed no one. And he's like, but I will tell you this though. He's like, I don't believe in any sort of gun control. People should have their guns if they want them. And he was like, but I taught my kids like the power of the gun, and I made sure that if they ever had to use it, they knew how to, so they were using it smartly. And I brought a 2x4 out there, and he's like, so I fired like a little whatever, like a small caliber into the 2x4, and then a larger one, and then the large caliber he had. And he's like, that's a piece of wood. Think of what that can do to your body. And like that's what he told his kids. And as he's saying this, in my head, I wanted to tell him, like, dude, you didn't need gun control in your situation because you were practicing gun control. You were educated, you knew what you were doing, and you were teaching your children and like the people around you like the power behind the weapon. Mm-hmm. I'm like, that's you did gun control.
You're doing your job,
right? Exactly.
Yeah.
I wanted to tell them like, yo, you may not believe in gun control, but you were the shining example of.
You did your part,
right? I'm like, you're the shining example of you did your own self gun control. Because he's like the first thing that I told my kids too is like, when you pick up a gun, the first thing you should do is see if it's loaded. Mm-hmm. And he's like, so everyone, that's like rule number one. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, yep, this is all basic gun control stuff that he's practicing. I don't have to tell him, but
he's not the kind of person you got to worry about,
right? But it was just weird because he was like this super harsh conservative, and I'm like, you're like the shining example of what. I'm like, if everyone was like you, I would have no problem with it. Mm-hmm. But there's people that are not like that.
Well, it's good you had that conversation. Mm-hmm. You didn't prejudge him, and
yeah, no, definitely.
You know,
he was a great guy. Enjoyed talking to him. Mm-hmm. There's different views, but it was cool because now like I was enlightened onto a certain thing, mm-hmm. like another worldview. But he was like, yeah, it was a good interaction.
Yeah, that's cool, man. You don't have to prejudge anybody. I tell my students that all the time.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's also just going into it with like an open mind, and just whenever I listen to like, I noticed a lot when I was listening to the Sam Harris podcast. He'd always say like, yeah, like we would get into an argument, and like we would argue this and argue that. And in my head, I'm like, why call it an argument? Why not say you had a discussion? Because I feel like whenever you have an argument, it's just two people yelling at each other, and there's no exchange of ideas. Whereas with a discussion, you can have open minds and like propose everything, like put it all out on the table and see what sticks.
I think the word argument holds two different meanings though, because I struggled in college. I took a course. It was like Brit Lit, that's what it was. So she's like, you have to write an argument or write a paper and establish an argument. Mm-hmm. So in my head, I'm like, what? And what do you mean argument? So I talked to her after class. I'm like, what are we arguing? She's like, well, you're gonna pick. I forget what story it was. You're gonna pick an aspect of this story and argue that this is how the story you interpreted the story essentially. Right. And I'm like, so we're just kind of discuss it. She's like, yeah, like an argument. So I'm like, it was just weird to me that an argument, I don't think necessarily has to mean like brash opposing viewpoints, with including yelling and like inappropriate way of talking about stuff.
I think that's like a different context though.
Yeah,
like the common connotation of the context. I feel like is like at least personally, like whenever someone says, "Oh yeah, we got into an argument," I think of nothing good.
You like just yelling and name calling.
Whereas I guess like if you're looking more of like like a literature basis, it could mean the discussion on like putting a discussion out on paper or something like that.
Like a debate also.
Right. Exactly. Like the idea of like debate or discussion sounds so much more like
civil.
Yes. Then we had an argument, and I just like whenever I just hear that, I think of people yelling and arguing with each other. So I can't even use the word without thinking it.
Yeah.
It's like that with most. I feel like it's like that with most words though. I can't think, but just like if you can clean up the words you use, you can better get your point across. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, vocabulary could be very strong, man. Mm-hmm. Like the other day, one of my students used a word that I'd never heard before in my life, dilapidated.
Oh yeah, like an old house.
Yeah, like he was talking about a railroad, and he was like, "Oh, it's all dilapidated," and I was like, "What?"
Yeah.
He's like, "It's all dilapidated." I'm like, "What does that mean?"
Yeah.
He's like, "Just kind of like run down, beat up," and I'm like, "Okay."
But see, cool. Going back, like, doesn't it help describe like the house so much better?
Yeah, and it's just fun to say. Yeah, dilapidated.
Like you could say like rundown house, and I'd think of maybe like a house that has like boarded up windows or something like that, or maybe like a loose front door. But when I think dilapidated, I think of like Fight Club, maybe like everything hanging down. You got wood panels coming off, the roof is coming off.
Dingy on the inside.
Yeah, like there's maybe like leaky pipes and everything. Mm-hmm. Like that's what I think when I think dilapidated.
Right.
The words have such like a great power to them.
Sure, they're a great tool.
Mm-hmm. Well, kind of going back to what I put in the group text of how emojis are like can be a whole new language, which is weird because it's like we took these great complex complicated words that can have these powerful meanings and now they're replaced by a picture.
Yeah, and how you interpret that little picture.
And I was thinking about it, and it's so weird because whenever I think of like the ancient Egyptians or any like old civilization that use hieroglyphics, I think, well, how basic and primitive of them if they're only using pictures to express themselves. Like they don't have the words and the sounds to say dilapidated or like rustic or something like that. Which I mean that goes into a whole other the subjectivity of words. But like, and I think about coming back to like now, and I'm like, well, we're using emojis, which are essentially hieroglyphics, and I'm like, especially with reading the Graham Hancock book, I'm like, maybe those old civilizations were just they were working smarter, not harder.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? If we can express ourselves in just pictures, why not? Why not take all the work out of it?
What if the ancient Egyptians had like regular text or whatever, or something besides hieroglyphics, and their hieroglyphics were literally how we interpret emojis?
Oh, so like they had like actual like physical scrolls of like words and letters and things like that.
But in their artwork,
right,
it was custom to use emojis.
Dude, that would be so
Wouldn't
wild.
that be weird?
How perfect of a depiction of the circle of life would that be? It's like, yep.
That'd be crazy. That would make sense though, man. Like from Graham Hancock's point of view,
yeah.
How they were this advanced civilization before the cataclysm of 11,000 years ago.
Yeah.
And
that wiped them all out. Because it's so weird.
Wow.
Because think about before emojis, would you not think that it's like, oh, they're just using pictures? That's kind of primitive of them. Because like you always hear how like the first written language is like what sparked history. And you think, well, they're just using like pictures to express themselves. Like, how could they be so stupid? And then 6 years later, we have emojis.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Where did emojis? You remember on AOL AIM?
Yeah.
Like Instant Messenger, you could kind of do those.
Well, it was just like the smiley faces.
Yeah,
and there was like
it
a
was
few
just,
different smileys.
Right.
And then it warped into emojis and now emoticons, which
But
you can like make after yourself.
Right. Bitmoji.
Yeah, Bitmoji, that's it.
But why? It seems so old school to me, emojis, and I hardly ever use emojis. Really,
I love emojis now. I'm a big guy.
They're fucking weird because it used to be this old thing. I'm trying to think when I was on AIM, probably like early 2000s, right? Early 2000s, emojis and those little smiley faces, and then that kind of disappeared. And then everyone kind of had a cell phone and text messaging. I remember when that was big, and then the smartphone, and then I feel like the emoji thing was just on the first iPhone. Were there emojis?
No.
When did emojis even become part of the regular get down of an iPhone?
Our freshman year, so 6 years ago.
Of college?
Yes.
Wow. That's not long ago.
No.
And now they're huge.
Yeah. Well, that's like any sort of technology. It's not like it grows like an exponential rate. Like think of 100 years ago. Like, well, I mean, you can't really think of 100 years ago, but just think of when we were kids. Like, cell phones weren't really a big thing. I mean, like, I know like my mom had one and that was it. And there was still like payphones that she would use to call people. They still had like even before pagers. You think about that, and then like say 20 years later, we have a whole database of information at our fingertips. Like that's why I'm kind of buying into this whole singularity thing, where we can upload our consciousness onto an iCloud, or not an iCloud, but a cloud. Because just like the rate of progression that we've seen in the past however many years is crazy, and I mean it's only going to get better. Like to think that this is the best it's going to get is foolish. Like not just with technology, but in terms of like our own human evolution as well. Like now that it's available, I think that we could selectively alter ourselves to be symbiotic with artificial intelligence.
I agree with you, and absolutely because of how quick things move. But I'm glad you brought that up, because I wanted to say a lot more in the group message than I could express at the time. Because first of all, I don't like typing huge shit in an iPhone, and I couldn't speak it because I was at work. But I think yes. But here's the reason I think we're like maybe I don't know how to ballpark it. Like at least 10, 20 years away from that.
Oh yeah, definitely. I would agree with you.
Here's why. Because
I would say at least even like 50 to 100.
Yeah, I almost said 50. But we're far away because first of all, you have to have like a really good understanding of consciousness, which I feel like we have almost no understanding of.
Yeah.
And then
no idea what that is.
And
it's like, hey, you come out of your mom, and somewhere in like those first few years, you come online.
Yeah.
Because like I feel like not many people can remember their birth. I know my first memories are around like 3 to 4.
Yeah, that's 3 or 4 years of
unprocessed nothing online.
It's crazy.
Well, yeah, it's like no, like I feel like we're still a long way off. We have no idea.
We're still a long way. And so first of all, you have to understand what consciousness is completely, and then you have to be able to convert what consciousness is into like a downloadable format, like a JPEG or a PDF
or something that's not even made yet,
or something that's not even made yet,
like
and then manipulate that file in the same way you would an audio file or a JPEG in Photoshop file.
Right.
We're talking about, can you imagine that, man? Download Eric Chesnowski, and now I'm going to manipulate this live, breathing human
it's not
being.
even, it might not even be I was going to say it could just be a code, but then, like, if it's just a code, is it really you? I feel like you would have to do some sort of, like, get hooked up and thing, like the Matrix, where you just plug a cord in the back of your head.
I feel like
and it just,
always boils down to the Matrix.
It always, dude, it's all about the Matrix.
It always does.
Hey, you know what? Or it could be like Ghostbusters, where you see, like, Bill Murray just come and he just vacuums out your consciousness and puts it on the iCloud.
Oh, my God.
No, but kind of going back to what we were talking about is, so this one woman in my class for PT, she was a teacher and she came back and she actually had a kid during PT school, and very cute baby. And I've like interacted with her a few times, and just like watching a baby like that's just been born act in the real world is so weird. Yeah, because it's just like this whole new blob of thing trying to make all these connections of what the fuck is going on.
Yeah,
like they're trying to like establish all these, because you think about it, it's like
they're a sponge, man.
Right? They take in everything, and like that's like when a lot of your brain is developing, it's establishing a lot of the important neuronal connections, and it's pruning back a lot of the ones that aren't. So you're like hyper connected to everything, which I have another thing to talk about that, but it's just like this whole. I tried like imagining being her child, just like crawling around in the world with no idea of what's going on, and it blew my mind. Like, I just could not imagine being a baby and saying, like, what are all of these creatures and what is this? Well, can you imagine seeing this for the first time? Like, what is this contraption?
What is it? What is this
it's
sensation?
Brown. Yeah,
it's smooth.
It's cold. It's got a little nick in it. Like,
but see, how could you possibly even put yourself in that position? Because, like you said, your first 3 years is like you're essentially nothing.
Right. That's like where it gets like very trippy, because like you can't even imagine it. But you can only have your best approximation of it, and you just, I don't know. It's just like a whole other idea. Like I pulled my lanyard out and I was just kind of dangling it, and her eyes got so big as she's like reaching for it. I'm like, this is crazy. Like just learning like what a new thing is. Of course, everything goes in the mouth, but
sounds, noises, smells.
Exactly.
And who knows, man? And I think that's what fascinates me about like brain disorders or like psychological disorders too.
Yeah.
Is because the fact that we develop in the proper way, proper, you can almost put proper in quotes, in the proper way is like so amazing,
right?
Because if you have a sensory issue or something, that's a whole nother world, man.
Or all the things that can go wrong in like the process, like the conception, like from sperm meets egg to you're out from like you're born. So many things can go wrong, and even when you're being born, so many things go wrong.
It's like, incredible. And now you go from that, imagine that little blob of a baby who can't speak, was mind blown by a lanyard. Yeah. Imagine like now he's grown up to you, and you're like sitting here. We set up this complex
circuitry where we're recording the sound waves we make with our voice box.
Yes.
Going into like a little contraption, going down through wires into a
computer,
into a green board essentially, and popping out a podcast,
popping out ones and zeros. But even you can go even from yourself standpoint, like just creating these thoughts from being a blob to having these complex thoughts about the world and consciousness, like in 20 something years. Everything moves so fast,
right? That's kind of like what's cool to think about is like I'll think about it, and I'll reflect back on like where I've come from, because I was talking to a few friends about like how much I've changed since not just high school, but even like freshman, sophomore year of college. Like completely radical shift in worldviews. And I think about it and I'm like, this has only been like 4 years of me really kind of delving into all these different mysteries of life. And I'll think about it, I'm like, I'm kind of excited to see
where this gonna take you.
To see where this strange journey is gonna go to.
I
don't know, it's interesting to think about. Okay, but going back to being a baby and like all these different connections, like your brain is hyper connected. I saw this book in a bookstore. Let's see if I saw the picture of it. And it was about like paranormal interactions between babies and like the next world, I guess you could say, or like having having interactions with people that have died. And I thought about it, I'm like, how, like I was thinking, I'm like, that could in theory be possible, because you figure if you're hyper connected, like depending on what your views on death are, because you feel you're like if you're hyper connected and you're on like some other sort of plane of consciousness, here. So it's Heaven. The book's called Heaven Talks to Children: Afterlife Contacts, Spiritual Gifts, and Loving Messages. And it was just such like a weird idea to me of like maybe kids could have like maybe like the afterlife is like some other heightened level of connectivity with the brain, because you figure like this consciousness that we experience is only taking in certain waveforms based on like how we evolved of like that, and like we're only using like certain perceptions in our brain. Like we can only see certain colors on the wavelengths, or the certain wavelengths on the color spectrum. Like we don't see any of these other ones. So you figure like if there's these young children and these young kids who have these hyper-connected brains, maybe they're tuned into some other sort of like perception of the universe that like we can't tune into because we like got rid of all those connections. And I saw it and it was kind of weird because like when I was growing up, I would have like dreams and stuff where I would like talk, I guess I would say, like to like not, I don't like my parents would tell me, but I would like have these talks with like my great grandfather who passed away like years before I was born, with like legit information of like when his birthday was and just like all these like odd like things that happened to him that like my parents didn't even know about.
Wow.
That they had to like relay back to my great grandma who was still living. Wow. And it like kind of like I saw that and it was so like such like this weird idea that sparked that, and I was like, ooh. So it wasn't just me that was having these weird things happen, it was like other people, and I'm like, so maybe there is some merit to it.
Well, what that reminds me of is about how you said it perfectly, like how we can only see certain amount of UV ray and like we can only perceive certain amount of stuff, which is why I learned about cats. You ever see how cats are they sometimes are looking around and they just run to the other room real quick?
Yeah.
It's because they can see a wider visual spectrum than we can.
Oh,
like
okay.
they could see certain types of UV rays that we can't.
Okay.
So it's cool. So if you ever see them like chasing something, or we used to have a cat in my school, and Mike's girlfriend would leave at our house, and I was always watching him because he's always running around.
Yeah.
Like, wonder what he's doing, or looking around. He's seeing shit that we can't see. It'd be like if a big spot came on the wall of UV ray, and like we're never gonna notice it, but he would.
That's
so it could be the same thing with like speaking to spirits or like connecting with different types of energy.
Yeah.
That kids can perceive before their brain is fully developed.
Right. And it's just like it's not necessarily wrong or right, but it's just like a whole other way of perceiving the universe. And yeah, that's crazy. And it's like one of those things, like you said before, where I would try to like act like I was the baby and think of what that's like. Like it's like you can't even like put yourself in the cat's position because you have no idea what it's experiencing, unless of course you go to virtual reality, in which case you could see, which is weird.
You think they have one?
Oh yeah, dude, I was floating in the universe as a blob of consciousness with no body.
Oh man, I gotta try one out. How did you do that, by the way?
So I was at the mall out in Washington, and I was walking past the Microsoft store, and Microsoft, I guess, has some sort of deal, or they own HTC. Oh yeah, it's HTC. So they're like in. Like, I think they're at some
company.
Yeah, right. So they had the Vive or whatever it is there.
HTC Vive. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was walking past it, and I saw the lady had it on, and I saw it, and like I'm like, I don't want to just go in and be like that person that just walks in just to use it. So I walked
down the barriers,
I know.
Man.
Well, so what happened is I saw it as I was walking past, and I'm like, you know what? I'll go shopping, and then I'll come back when I'm done. And if the line's not long, then I'll do it. So I walked in and to the Microsoft store, and the lady's like, "Hey, do you want to try it out?" I'm like, yeah, sure. And there was like a low stimulus level, a medium, and then like a more physically involved one, and all three were crazy.
Really?
Yeah, there was one where it was like I was on a cliff with a dog, but it was like a real scene. It was like a real Washington mountain.
Okay.
And I was able to like throw a stick and kind of like jump to different spots, so I had like different views. Oh, excuse me. The second one was the coolest one, I think, where I was so like she was like, all right, we're gonna go to the next one where you're painting, and you essentially like you put on the goggles, but it makes like you can essentially like paint your real life. So you'll like swipe your arm up, and there'll be like a pink line going up. Okay. So you can like paint your life, like I said. And she was like, okay, like if you point to the corner, you can change the background, and if you go to the top left, it's the universe. So I click the universe, and all of a sudden, like, so you're wearing the virtual reality, so you're in the reality, so you have no like body in there. So all of a sudden I'm floating in the universe, and I look down and I have no body, and I'm like, I jumped back because I was so scared, like I thought I was gonna fall. And I'm like, no, I'm just like floating around in the universe as like this beautiful blob of consciousness. And it was so, and the lady's like, you know, you can paint still, and on my head I'm like, I know I can paint, but this is beautiful, and I don't want to ruin it with anything I'm going to put on it. Like, this is beautiful enough. I don't have to add anything. Wow. So I was just sitting there, like, looking around. It was such, like, a transcendent, beautiful experience. Like, I would 100% buy like a virtual reality thing from that. Just so every so often I can like shock my body. Whenever I get too stressed out, just put it on and be like,
just go into outer space.
Yeah, just go into outer space. Just realize that I'm just a floating blob of consciousness through a big vacuum of nothingness, and just kind of zone out.
Let me ask you a question about those, because I want to try one out for sure, but I don't understand. So explain how it works, because my understanding of those virtual reality things is like there's a small screen right in front of your face, but it's so close that it looks big. How does that? I don't understand. I feel like that would just look like you're looking at a small screen.
I don't know, because I always thought the same thing, but I think it's because it might just be because you're blocked in here too, so it's almost like tunnel vision, I guess. Because I think that it is like a little bit of like a curved screen maybe, so you are getting a little bit sort of like the periphery, but I think since it is blocked out that you get the tunnel vision, and then they'll give you headphones too, so that way you're visually and sensory in or auditorily in the virtual world. So you figure you have two stimulus in there, and then since if you can see yourself in there, you'll have like a physical stimulus of like you're acting there too. So I think that it's just like a stimulus overload to trick your brain.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting, man. I would love to Google. I'm sure there's places you can go almost like
I mean, you could probably find a Microsoft store if you ever go downtown.
Yeah, I definitely want to try that out because it sounds interesting. And from what I've heard you say, what I've heard Duncan Trussell talk about,
dude, it's awesome.
Yeah,
there was someone after me, but I kind of wanted to stay to go again. But can I just get more time?
Put me in space.
Yeah, put me back in the universe here. Actually, let me go to the dispensary first. I'll be right back.
Yeah, hold my spot.
Yeah, no, it was a very cool experience, and I'm really glad I did it. It was just. And then the last one was cool too because we were in I was like supposed to be the defending a castle with a bow and arrow, and like my arms were getting sore. I kept pulling back, and the lady's like, if you want to go further, you have to pull back farther. So I'm like really cranking back there, letting go. I had to like draw the arrow back each time and like hook it, and if I didn't come close enough to hook it, I like the arrow in virtual reality wouldn't get synced up, so I'd have to go back and bring my hands closer. Wow. It was cool. Like what they could, like I was blown away by how good the technology and like how immersed I was in the virtual world. I actually walked into one of their walls because I was so caught into it. Because it said like the lady when it started off, it said, "Here, do you see like the blue barrier on the wall or like on the ground? Don't go past it." And I took a step and the barrier moved. So I'm like, "Oh, okay, maybe the barrier is just like the bounds of the game." So I was walking like when I was in space. I think I was walking, and I saw the blue barrier and I went like one step too close because I put my head forward to look down and just rocked the wall.
I'm sure she sees people doing that all day.
And the lady's like, "Remember, don't go past the the box." I'm like, "Oh yeah, sorry."
It's like one of these guys again.
Just wandering around, lost off in space. No, I was walking home from somewhere, and I really had to take a leak, and I'm like, dude, I wish I could just like walk over to some bushes and just do my business there. And I was thinking, I'm like, but nope. If anyone sees that, it's a sexual offense, and I'm like a sexual predator.
I'll tell you why. Because one bad apple ruined it for the rest of us.
I tell you, I guess so, dude. Because like, how freeing of a feeling is that? It's like we're just like literally any other animal could do that, and it's like, oh yeah, they're just being an animal. But since we're humans, it's like, nope, you have to go to a small little square room, go into with
artificial lighting.
Yeah, pee into some water and then flush it down somewhere else. You can't just go onto a bush like people have been doing for millions of years.
What if everybody started peeing outside, though? Everybody. I think that would affect the environment.
I don't know. I mean, other animals do it.
Yeah, but that's not... Okay, now you're going to add 8 billion people peeing outside every day. You don't think that would affect the world? Like, because it's waste. There's no... Like, poop has beneficial qualities to the environment. Well, because it's like fertilizer.
Yeah.
But I don't think pee does.
It goes into the ground.
No, but it's like that's like pouring. What if it's as toxic as like pouring a chemical into?
I highly doubt that.
Will you ever see like grass that's yellow and stuff?
Yeah, well, that's just because the ammonia kills the grass.
Right. So now you're pouring ammonia into the ground.
Well, that's only if you pee in the same spot over and over again.
Well, even if you don't, I don't know, man. Look it up.
I'm bad for the.
Bring that shit up.
Let's see. Is human urine bad for the environment? Okay, I definitely. Echo chamber this. Human urine environment. Why is the first site that pops up human urine environment.weebly? That's not just
.weewee?
Weebly.
Oh, they said .weewee.
Here. This is Washington Post. I don't know if that's a real place.
I don't. Yeah, I always see that, and I don't know if that's a credible source or not.
Let's see.
Washington Post.
Oh yeah, Washington Post is.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I don't want to read all
Like
this.
how I just blindly accept that. Is it? Yeah. Okay, it is.
No, it's like it's. I'm pretty sure it's on the same level as like the New York Times and everything like that.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't want to read all of this, but I don't know. I feel like it wouldn't be bad. I mean, why not just get outside? It's fine.
Well, yes, that is, but because we know nothing about it, that's
So
it's like
I'm fine making a blanket statement like that. I will blindly support peons peeing outside. So long as it's on bushes, away from everyone else.
But what I'm saying is, what if it's not good for plants and stuff?
Okay, fine. How about this? What about public breastfeeding? Are you pro or against?
I don't see how those two relate, but
Because it's a biological function with an exposed human body part.
but nothing's going into the environment. It's going into a mouth.
Okay, so
It's going into a child.
you're
It's not like she's squirting breast milk on the trees.
so your opposition is that it could be bad for the environment, not that you got like dingles and dongles hanging out everywhere.
Yes, that's
Okay.
my thing
Oh.
for sure. I think the people should be way more okay with like being naked and like seeing a human body.
Yeah.
And I think we're, especially in America, like real sensitive about that.
Yeah.
But that's not my problem. It's just like I don't feel like the urine because it's waste.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like that would, if everybody started doing it, that it would the greenhouse effect would kick up and all the plants would die and then we would have no more oxygen.
I mean, we're all dead anyway, so
We're all dead anyway.
yes, might as well just live it up now.
We're all dead. What do
Yeah.
you mean by that?
Oh, dude, the environment's toast.
Yeah.
We're not gonna have a functional planet to live on in like 200 years, I'd say.
Really?
Yeah,
I mean, I've heard that before,
I'm
but
pretty confident in saying that. I
so
think
our
that we're getting,
kids.
or just our kids. I think that from everything I've seen, that we're getting very close to the point of no return, and I think that we're not doing anywhere near enough to stop it.
Well, I heard the amount of carbon or something. Totally talking out of my ass here. The amount of something in the environment can only be a certain percentage, and we've doubled it.
Yeah.
And we've exceeded the amount we're supposed to have by double. And it's like, oh, okay, shit.
Yeah.
Whoops.
Yeah,
There's
it's-
really nothing you can do about it now.
Yeah, well, and then there's like the runaway gases where it's even if we were to stop, there would still be like we're say like it's like 5 or 3 years. There's like some amount of years that we're behind, so we would have to like even if we were to stop cold turkey now, there would still be a few processes that have like the environment would have to catch up. So yeah,
Wow. That's kind of... I was thinking about this the other day, why I have this intense desire to visit national parks. And I think maybe subconsciously that's it. Like, I know they're not going to be around for that much longer.
yeah.
Better,
they
better
could
go
not
see
be
'em.
because there's a lot of stuff for public lands to be sold
Yeah,
off.
yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah, but I mean, I also had when I was driving back, I had such a great appreciation for how beautiful like this landmass we live on is. Like, there's like scenic outposts where where I would pull over and I would just be in awe, just like thinking about, okay, well, not only am I traversing this, and were people smart enough and capable enough to build a road through nature, but think of all the people that traversed that land before, like without maps. They were the first person to do it. They had no idea what they were doing, but yet somehow they were able to survive. Some of them, many died, but like just like this whole crazy idea, and then the fact that there's like other wild beasts roaming out there that have no idea that I exist, and they're just surviving, doing their thing. It was like a very transcendent thing to think about. A few times it happened, and seeing, oh man, yeah, it's like I think it's a very underappreciated fact. And I know that when I was in, I think it was Washington, there was a bill that was passed that Obama designated like a lot of land in Nevada and Utah, I think, as public land that can never be touched. And there was a big outcry. Then, like, things I was seeing, it's like, yeah, it prevents industry from getting in there and extracting the resources. And I'm like, why can't we just let it be the beauty that it is? Like, why do we have to leave our grimy hands all over it and take it out and get the money out of it? Because we have to get dollar instead of just enjoying this natural beauty that, like, billions of years of creation and destruction.
Because, I don't know, greed has exceeded our appreciation of beauty or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. And again, I try to boil it down to like a more simple level. I don't know, man. I mean, that's why we gotta get out there and try to see them.
Yeah, see as much as you can.
I don't think like a Yosemite or a Yellowstone is gonna be fucked with.
No, but I feel like there's smaller parks. Like there is
Yeah.
that could very easily, because especially since we're cutting so much funding to like the natural resources that we have. Like I don't know, the EPA got a bunch of funding cut, NASA got a big funding cut. Like it's like even if they don't close like directly through these indirect ways of cutting their budget, they're not going to be. It's not going to be feasible for them to stay open. It's just crazy to think about.
I think we have just abused the environment so hard for so many years.
Yeah.
That we probably in the beginning, like, geez, I don't know. When do you think, like, the extracting of oil like really started picking up? Industrial Revolution, maybe.
Yeah, I would say probably like a little bit post-industrial revolution.
So what? That's like 1800s.
No, like 18.
Well, it's like within the 1800s.
Yeah, I'd say
So
sometime in the 1800s.
So let's just ballpark it. So 200 years ago, we probably were like, okay, cool, like oil. They probably used oil for fire a long time ago, but like oil, cool, we can make these things.
Yeah, we can go faster, farther.
We can go, yeah. But then at some point, somebody was like, ooh, people are buying these automobiles that use oil, and I'm making a lot of money. Let's take, you know what? At first we said we'd just take a little bit of oil, but now let's take all the oil.
Yeah, exactly.
So I can have money.
Yeah,
to open
and
more factories.
Right, and more power and all
That's probably where it began. And then it just got to the point where we're like, oh shit, we took so much oil that there's none left.
Right. And like
and it's affecting...
It's having terrible effects. And it's so weird that people just don't believe it. It's like, yeah, well, that's not... It's like, well, I'm still not sold on the idea. Well, it's like...
Who doesn't believe it are the people who have those political interests in those companies.
Even that.
Not even political, but just interest in those companies.
I mean, I've talked to people at school, and I'm like, I was talking to this dude, and I'm like, okay, so like, what's your view on climate change? And he's like, I don't think that humans have had as much of an impact that they say we do. And I'm like, even the science out there, like, you don't believe it? And he's like, no, I think that it's all. He's like, I don't believe their scientific conclusions. I think it's all natural flux. And in my head, I'm like, you can't make someone believe that. It's like they're willfully choosing to not believe these certain things.
Shit.
But it's like,
So what do they think then?
They just think it's natural flux of the environment, and that there's been ups and downs in climate and temperature.
That's so stupid, because on the most basic level, you can look at the industrial, the amount of industry that like America has built up.
Yeah.
In the last 200 years, and like just look around, like you could see way more companies and factories than you would 200 years ago pumping shit into the sky.
Right, and then even it takes a quick Google search to look at like the different. I tried having this discussion with someone. They didn't believe the information out there, which whatever. And it's pretty easy to find the information where you just see like it's like, okay, you have like 1300s, 1400s, 15. Then it's like right when the Industrial Revolution hits, and like or right after when they developed the combustion engine, and it just all took off.
Right.
And it's like okay, I mean, there's really nothing else you can do. But that's not, I don't know what's worse, like willfully choosing to disagree, or the people that say, nope, it's not in the Bible, it's not happening. Like there's no logic there, which is, there's nothing you can do about that. Luckily, I think that's like a smaller portion of people than the willfully choosing to deny the evidence.
And see, the part where it gets sticky for me is like, you gotta support the advancement of society and of technology and that kind of stuff. Yeah. But at what cost? It's like, and now we have this huge push for like eco-friendly, and it's like almost oh shit, we fucked it up so bad. Like we need no emission cars. We have to be super eco-friendly.
Right.
And it's like, you wouldn't have had to do this if you were just responsible from the get-go.
Right. And I mean, I get it's like they didn't have the insight back when we first started using oil and gasoline for fuel sources. But we've like the information has been out there, and it's just been like a willful ignorance to say nope, that's wrong. It's like, okay, what's the worst that happens if so we realize we're doing something wrong. The worst that happens is we invest in a new sort of technology. Is that so? A new sort of technology that we don't have to destroy these beautiful lands where we can literally just absorb the sunlight for it. Like, why not invest in that instead of continually finding new ways to extract oil? Like, it has to be. It's like, if we're gonna try to find a new way to extract oil with like coal sands or whatever it is and fracking and all these things, why not invest that money in a new way to find a new sort of renewable energy instead of something that isn't renewable? Like, basic logic to me says always pick the renewable energy. Anything, like if you were to say you can get $5,000 every week for the rest of your life, or you can get, say, like $1 million now, I'd probably do the 5,000 every week for the rest of my life.
Yeah, well, you have to like figure out
right
if you were getting way less for the 5,000.
Right.
But I see what you mean.
It's like it's you. Why not just pick something where you know you can get constant feedback from it?
And I'll tell you why I think it is. It's because, like, say, let's just choose a company. Dodge has been making their cars in this certain way that they've established all these companies. It would be expensive as fuck for them to change their method of doing it. And that's probably why they're not like, oh, yeah, you're right.
But think about this. Think how much money they put into research and design for new gas cars. Why not just put that research and design into new electric cars?
I hear you, but probably because it would still cost them more money though, man.
Right.
Because they have all these plants established, and I'm not saying it's right. I'm just kind of guessing where they're coming from.
Yeah.
And you got a guy who makes these big decisions up at the top, who's like, oh shit, I don't want to cut my salary in half. He's like, fuck that. I'm more concerned about how much monetary value I'm bringing in.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, maybe just start small and then turn from there. But I mean, we've known for a while that the information has been out there for a while. So even if it's like not, so maybe even not like gas to renewable in like a year, why not just slowly taper and then slowly build up until you can have like a good solid thing to put out.
I'm with you.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird, but again, that kind of I saw something else that kind of ties into the whole like natural park thing. Is have you ever thought about like uncontacted people in like the Amazon?
Yeah, I have.
Isn't that such like a weird thing to think about? It's like there's these humans out there who are living and surviving that no idea of like the sort of technology that's out there.
Right.
And they're just doing their thing like they have for probably thousands of years. It's so, like that's such like a whole transcendent idea to go behind.
Glad you brought that up, because something I wrote down earlier was, I don't need it. So, I was thinking about, who was it? I was listening to a podcast or an interview. Give me a sec. Ed Sheeran was on Howard Stern, and he took a year off of touring and writing to travel the world and stuff, which was cool. I heard about that. And it really is reflected in his album, which is really cool. But anyway, he by doing this, he stopped using his phone and everything at that point, and on the air, he still doesn't just use a cell phone anymore. Yeah. He just plans on, hey, like, we're going to meet for the podcast at 10 o'clock. Cool, see you there. And then we just meet. But I was thinking how hard, I love the idea of doing that, but how hard would it be to do that, man? Starting right now, if you had to not use your cell phone for, let's just say a year. Yeah. Like, how fucking hard would that be? Yeah, I mean. Probably.
Like damn near impossible.
Oh, damn near impossible. Yeah.
Well, I think the thing is, you just have to like that's such like going back to like the 33 challenge or whatever it is. Like that's such like a drastic thing, and I feel like you just have to find out what works for you. Like, so like that's such like a big thing. It's like, oh, I'm not gonna use my phone for a year. Where it's like that could be too big, where people are just gonna fail. So I mean, it's great that it worked for him, but I feel like it makes more sense to do something like, you know what, when I'm walking, say like when I'm watching TV, I'm not gonna be on my phone. I'm only going to be taking in one form of like screen at a time. Yeah. Or maybe like I was doing when I would walk to the store, I wouldn't be on my phone. I would be aware of my surroundings. And then when I was shopping, I wouldn't walk and be on my phone. I would stop and I'd pull over, and then I'd be on my phone. I'd text people, and then I would keep looking for what I was going for. So I think to me that makes more like I can only believe or can only imagine how hard it is. But I don't know. To me, that's just like it's like yeah, it's great, but it makes. To me, it's more applicable to put that idea out there. Yeah, I mean, that's crazy. Like,
you're right, but it's just something I was thinking about.
Oh, yeah, it's crazy. Like, that's super impressive, because you figure, in terms of functioning from day to day, of, like, how often people just need to be in contact with you, I mean, I definitely think that it has made lives better, but it's also kind of made things more, like, what are people, like, I don't know, it's, like, had its ups and downs like anything. Because we can be in contact, so like for safety reasons the cell phone could be great, but in terms of also like that hyper connectivity where like you're always in tune of what people are doing, you always have like that fear of missing out, of not being like what's up to date with whatever's happening in the world.
See, and the other thing is like it's such a social norm now to have the phone on you at all times, that say I were to just do it for the day at school, like once from 8 o'clock when the kids get there till 4 o'clock, I leave. I'm not gonna do the cell phone. But let's say, like, God forbid, something horrible happens, and it's like, oh my God, like your grandpa, just like is in the hospital. Like
right,
he
like
might,
something you would like to know.
Yeah, and then
where you say, like, if something bad happened, you could be there.
You could be there, and then it's like, oh shit, why wasn't he there? Well, he didn't look at his phone. He does this weird thing where he doesn't look at his phone all day.
Yeah.
And now it's like your fault for trying to live a more simple life. It's weird. You're like in this point.
Well, you figure at that point though that there would be like some other way to contact you. I feel like in emergencies, but I get what you're saying though, where it's like it's almost like this thing where that, like, what if is worth it to have that piece of, like, to have that phone on you. Because like I see what you're saying. But yeah, I mean, that's what I would try to do that at work, is I would only be on it for like 30 minutes during my lunch, and even then it would be like I wouldn't be on my phone when I was eating, and then I would set aside maybe like 5 minutes to just look at the news and like reply to some texts and some Snapchats and stuff like that. But it's like there were a few times where like I would look after and it would be my mom saying like, hey, call me because like something happened. Like it was only once and it wasn't a big deal, but it was one of those things where it's like, yeah, it would have been nice to know, but then I guess kind of going back, it's like it wouldn't have changed anything.
Right.
Like it's not like I could have, especially being in Washington, like it's like, okay, I would have found out earlier, but then that would have been on my mind during work. Right. So I guess it could be like a plus minus too.
Yeah.
Like anything, those are like very like idealistic situations where
you pick and choose the situation.
Yeah, if you can create the situation, you can alter it to your needs to make it to make it fit perfectly.
Yeah, so that's something I was thinking about, man. Like just trying that, not from 8 to 4, maybe only during lunch.
Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah, or maybe just do like small things like don't be on your phone when you eat, don't be on your phone when you watch TV. Like just like set like small little
goals.
Right, like things that you can build up with.
Yeah.
Kind of like with reading, it's like maybe read for 10 minutes, then be on your phone for 10 minutes, and then read for 15 and be on your phone for 10. Just kind of something like that. Or maybe even say like only like set like a thing where you check your phone once an hour. Just like little things where you can gradually build up and increase your time.
Right. See, that's the hard part for me. I'm like, if I'm in it, I'm in it. Like, boom, let's do it.
I think that's what it's like with most people, though, is that it's like, all right, let's dive right in.
Follow through.
Right, exactly.
It's so drastic.
Yeah, and it's too drastic, and you can't succeed, and then it's like, okay, well, I can't succeed. I'm a failure. I'm not gonna try it. You gotta. That's what I learned with like the meal prep. You have to set yourself up for success first. Then once you kind of get in the groove, you like build that momentum. It's much easier to stay in the groove than to just keep starting fresh every time. Yeah,
it's cool, man. I like talking about this kind of stuff. It's good to have like a self-reflection when talking about this kind of stuff, because it really sets me straight. Like I'm thinking in my head, like, all right, I'm gonna try to make these small little changes to just get better.
Yeah, I mean that's what it is. Just like small changes every day, and so long as you're better, I guess you could say, than the person you were yesterday. It's not even about being better. I guess just like improving in areas you could improve on to make to be your best self possible.
Well, I'm so much better than people that are just on their phones all day.
Oh yeah, definitely. Me too. Especially when obviously.
I watched that video you shared on Facebook of On It, Joe Rogan talking about happiness.
Yeah.
It's just 2 minutes long. That was cool. That was a nice little video of him
that's
talking about it.
Kind of it too. It's like you got to get that momentum. You got to get that groove going.
And you keep going, and you're never going to reach that place of like perfect fulfillment. Right. Because there is no place like that.
Yeah. It's kind of like, I was like the Instagram post I had today when I was driving back from Montana, there's like, so like you remember the roads in Montana, it's essentially like a two-lane highway each way, and you're just driving next to really small towns. Yeah. And when I was driving, I saw this rainbow, and I don't know why, but I always figured like a rainbow was like set from point A to point B. I didn't figure that like based on like what it is in like the physical terms, that it's like the reflection of the sun, that it moves. So it's like as I was driving, it was almost like I was chasing this rainbow, and I like as I was going, I'm like, I was told myself, I'm like, I just want to see the end of the rainbow and see the pot of gold. Just kind of like going back to that fairy tale like when we were kids. And the rainbow kept moving and I never got to like that pot of gold. And I don't know why, but it didn't click on me today. Like, I was randomly thinking about it. I saw that picture, and I'm like, damn, dude, like, any sort of goal you could set in your life is like that pot of gold from the rainbow. Like, it just keeps moving. And it's like, you'll think, okay, once I get to the end of this rainbow and I get that pot of gold, I get that new promotion, I'm going to be happy.
Yeah.
And it's like, you get there, and it's like, oh, nope, the rainbow moved a little bit, the goal changed. So now you got that goal, and just how humans work is you set a new goal. It's like, okay, well, once I get that goal, then I'll be happy. And you just realize it keeps moving and moving and moving, and that the further you drive, the further that pot of gold is going to get. So all you can really do is just stop and appreciate the rainbow for what it is in the moment on that trip to the end of it, or the end, like the never-ending end, that constant path.
That was beautiful. Man.
I just reiterate what I'm told, man.
That's awesome, man. That's what a cool way to look at that. You know, and you learn that. Look at how you came up with that just by
sitting on the couch.
Total, just thinking about it, experiencing it.
Well, see, I guess that kind of goes back as, was it really me, or was I just, because I mean, I saw the Joe Rogan thing too, obviously, on happiness. So was I like just restating what he was stating then, or was that thought a creation of my own? Or are all these thoughts my own things, or am I just restating what?
Relaying it. Yeah, but I would argue that that's original thought, because you got it from somebody. He probably got that thought from somebody, put his own spin on it. You got that thought and put your own spin on it.
Yeah.
So, like, who's to say, like, any original thought?
That's true.
Is there ever an original thought?
I don't know.
I'm trying, like, think of
I
the
figure
greatest.
At some point there would have to be, because you figure, like, to create, like, a computer, there had to be an original thought of what a computer even could be.
But where did that guy may have saw
pure
something.
Imagination.
Yeah, maybe.
Somewhere.
Maybe. Or what if he just one day was inspired by looking at the sun or the sunset and thought, I don't know, like sun, energy. I wonder if there's a way to put energy into an electronic form that we can type, that we can create messages and blah, blah, blah. And then, like, okay, that's not an original thought because he...
Well, why wouldn't that be an original thought?
Because, I don't know, because he gained inspiration from it's an inanimate object. I don't know. Maybe it would be an original thought.
I feel like there has to be some sort of original thought.
Yeah, I'm just trying to be a philosopher.
No, I mean, I think that at some point, that, like, there has to be, like, some sort of, like, you can be inspired, but I think that the original thought gets, like, so say, I don't know, like, the first person to think of the wheel or, like, something like that, they would have to have, like, they could be pushing, like, a square, I guess, and see it roll, but they would have to have the original idea of, I wonder if I were to...
an object.
Yeah, so it's like pushing like this, pushing like a block or a stone, thinking like, hey, I wonder if I were to just kind of like chip it here so it didn't have that lip, that I could roll it. Like, to me, that's like an original idea.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I was trying to think of a way of saying, like, that wouldn't be an original thought, but
or is it your own thought, or are you getting it from some sort of, like, where are you getting the thought from?
Right.
Like, it could be some sort of divine inspiration,
right?
Which is then I see what you're saying. Like, is it really you thinking it, or is it coming? Like, where is it coming from?
Yeah,
like,
good
is it
example.
Coming from, like, the depths of your subconscious, or is it coming from some sort of higher knowledge that you like temporarily tune into? It's like I don't know if it's like one of like those stupid druggy urban myths or anything, but I heard a story that the guy that created that first thought of the double helix for DNA and won the Nobel Prize for it had it while he was taking LSD. And I don't know if that's true or not, but if that is, that'd be like kind of going back like the divine inspiration, where you can kind of tune into this higher order perception. It's just like a weird thing, like, you have to really contemplate. It's like open your mind to like this whole new way of seeing the world and have like this great creation. So would that be an original thought, or do you think no?
Well, I think it goes back to, again, like, is that, are you getting that original thought from yourself? It's like a yes and no. I don't think there's a right answer, because are you getting it from a substance?
Philosophical questions where you can argue or discuss all day and never.
Yeah, I don't think there's a right answer, because are you getting it from the substance, or would you have come up with it without the substance?
Yeah,
maybe. Or did that help you get to that point?
Yeah, or it's like what determines the originality. It's like even if you created it while under the substance, it's like, yeah, you may have had different ways of thinking, but you were still thinking the thought. Right. Yeah.
See, here's a good example right now. Like, the sun is coming in on my legs, making them warm. So let's say there was only short, for sake of argument, we're cavemen, there's only loincloths. Yeah. And then I feel like this on my legs here, or what's cold or something, and it's like, ooh, you know what? I wish I had a longer loincloth to cover my legs because I'm cold now.
Right.
And it's like, okay, so now I just had that thought because of an environmental influence.
Yeah.
So that was my thought, sure, but would I have had it without that spark of the environmental influence? Yeah. Maybe not.
I feel like some people could argue that you may not have had it without the original influence, but it's still an original thought because you had to take that idea and piece it, kind of like put all the pieces together for the originality of it. See, I think it's one of those things where you could have a million different views on it, and each one could be philosophically correct. I was listening to something like one of the Sam Harris ones, and it was like, they were arguing about truth, and so the guy I forgot like what the different philosophical types of truth were, but Sam Harris was saying, he's like, yeah, so if you're sitting in your living room and your kitchen's on fire, it's technically true that the living room is not on fire, but that truth has little like effect on you if you don't know that the house, like the kitchen's on fire, then the whole house is going to burn down. And the person he was talking to was like, no, that's not true then. If the kitchen's on fire, then you can't say that the living room isn't on fire. And I was thinking about that, and I was like, how can you even argue that? And I guess it went back to that whole idea of like alternative facts. And it's like we somehow lost like the basis for pure truth or like objective truth and like some sort of objective way of looking at things, where it's like what you think makes more sense and is more real to you than like what other people have discovered about this physical reality. Like what I sent you about that one person who that I was talking to through a little discussion on Facebook about, he said that the one guy who got his PhD on protein synthesis was wrong. Like Meathead Bobby over here is going to say that guy with the PhD is wrong. But I'm like, how is, like, just because his subjective reality doesn't line up with what was discovered, it doesn't mean that it's not true.
Yeah. And this is another argument that you can just go down the rabbit hole with too, about like subjectivity, because I don't know, man. It's another thing. Like, it's not as black and white as like music, for example, which I say is extremely subjective, no matter what.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Or art, extremely subjective, no matter what.
What it means to you.
But like protein synthesis guy, like you're probably gonna want to base fact off of like research, scientific research.
Yeah, you're gonna want to base your subjective view off of some objective thing.
And it's not to say it's 100%. Like, he could still look at that and say, no, I think I'm right because of this. Right.
Like, if you were to say like, no, that's bad. Like, I literally didn't even put the research article out there. I just said that this guy did the research, got a PhD, which should imply some sort of
credibility.
Right. Exactly. I mean, not that I think you should use your degrees for credibility, but I think that just in terms of for what the discussion was, that should have been enough. And then if you wanted to look up more, he could have. But like, I don't know, just one of those things where
shut down. No, he's wrong.
It's like, nope, you're wrong. It's like, I feel like you should base your subjective view off of some sort of objective.
It's not even, at that point, it's not even really worth it.
Yeah, and I'm like, dude, this is like, I didn't want to get into it. I'm done.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was so sad. I'm like, this is what it's come to. Like, you can't even have like a civil discussion anymore because it's just, I don't agree with that, so it's wrong. And there's just such like a block of wanting to...
a disconnect.
Yeah, of like wanting to be informed of like this reality that we partake in 24/7, 365.
So they were talking about it. This is not an original thought of mine, but they were talking about it on some podcast I was listening to, and they were saying that's probably because without the social interaction of person to person, with like eye contact, good listening skills and stuff, you have that extreme disconnect of doing it via social media or via the internet, that like you feel like you don't need that credibility, or you could just say that. Like, imagine if you two were talking person to person. My bet is he wouldn't. If you just were like, hey, you know, based on this PhD article, you might want to reconsider because he said this. He probably wouldn't be like, no, that's wrong.
He could. I mean, I was talking to one person about global warming, and he said he didn't believe what was out there.
Maybe, but I just think it's just easier to like hide behind the keyboard and just...
100% without a doubt it's much easier to hide behind the keyboard. And like you said, you are missing that social interaction, so you're not seeing that like the reciprocity of your actions. But yeah, it's just, man, some people should just not be allowed to have a computer. And I think there's also such like an echo chamber too, where it's like there's so much, like how I looked earlier, it's like I could look for, is Barack Obama from Kenya? And I'll get a bunch of information like trying to prove that it is, but I'm just it's kind of like that self-fulfilling prophecy where I'm searching for what I want to see instead of just searching for the objective facts out there, saying like whatever the search may be. Like instead of saying like putting in what I want, just put in like basic search terms like Barack Obama birth or something like that. Not even that, but just any sort of like any sort of thing out there. And it's just an openness to be willing to admit that you're wrong. I was like, oh, you know what I thought wasn't true, but at least now I know what is true, so I can alter myself and better like live better in whatever form it may take.
Right. Yeah, get rid of the ego and admit when you're wrong sometimes.
Yeah.
And I think everyone
Just not be so attached to your ideas.
Everyone can work on that. I don't think anyone's perfect at that.
No, not like I may say things. It's like no, I'm not perfect at all. No one's perfect. It's all there's always areas to improve on. I think that's what each life situation is. It kind of if you can be open to and be receptive to it, that each thing can help show you where you still have to improve and kind of like ways that you can be a better person and be a better human in general. Like how I texted you at the clinical. It's like I was nervous at first, and then I thought back, and it's like, you know what? I can plan all I want, but I just gotta let go, and just whatever's gonna happen is gonna happen. And I think that so like after like 5 minutes of being like upset and nervous, I was just like, all right, whatever. This is just another situation to teach me that I was way too attached to this idea. Just gotta learn to see what happens, and I can plan all I want, but what's gonna happen is gonna happen. You just have to be open, and receptive to each teaching.
No, I agree, man. And then you could go even deeper to say, like, was this already predetermined? You know, like, is what I do now, does it even really matter? Or are our actions predetermined? And what's happened has already happened. It's just a matter of...
Like that circle of life.
Acting it out. Yeah.
Or it could be like a multiverse thing where it's like you have the free will to choose, but there's an infinite number of you. Yeah. So it's like whichever one, you have like the infinite possibility to choose any of these options.
Wow. I never heard that one before.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Just things I fill my mind with. I was talking to someone and they're like, yeah, I can't do a heaviest content right now. Like I can't do a heavy discussion. And I'm like, welcome to my mind at all times. It's always heavy in here.
I love the honesty of that person. You're like trying to get into it.
Well, like we were going to talk about we were going to talk about artificial intelligence and like living in a matrix. And she was like, I'm too tired to have this conversation right now. It's like, it's way too heavy.
I'm like, okay.
Like, yeah, that's just how my brain functions. I'm sorry. It's all heavy all the time.
I love that honesty.
Yeah, I mean, I can appreciate the honesty. That's what we need more of. Like, especially with like, especially with like being in like a single and actively looking for someone. There's so much like not honesty out there of just like trying to like almost be too nice and like string people along. It's like just be honest. Like I'm an adult. I can handle whatever you say.
That's a super hard thing to do, man.
Yeah. People
lie and are facetious all the time.
Yeah, you just gotta be
so easy to do it.
Yeah, you just gotta be honest, and I mean they may not like it, but I'm gonna believe that honesty is usually always the best policy, and it may be hard, but it's for the betterment of all to just let it go, put it out there. Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
How long was that, dude? That was like 3 hours.
2 hours.
2 hours. Dang.
All right, let's cut it. Thank you all for listening. See you next time.
It's way too hot. You need to cut it.